What's up, Chaos Shinobi here. If you enjoy the story, like and subscribe so I can make more awesome videos for you guys. Chapter 1, A Family Reunion. Naruto sighed contentedly as he leaned back in his throne, a glass of wine in his right hand as he watched a few of his thralls fight. He had been making a new force of soldiers out of some of the different men and women in the town, and he often had them spar in front of him to make them work all the harder, as none of them wanted to look weak in front of their lord and master. As he watched a particularly vicious match, he sensed Kin enter the room through the side door and approach him. "Sir, Dosu has returned with information for you," Kin whispered in his ear. "Very well then." Naruto nodded as he set the glass down on the small side table and rose. "Enough. You have pleased me. You are dismissed for the day." "Yes, Lord Naruto," the combatants said as they put away the practice weapons and left. Naruto then walked with Kin to the side room where Dosu was waiting. "Well?" Naruto asked. "I managed to get some interesting information out of Konoha as you requested. It seems that the Hokage is planning on bringing back Tsunade Senju to train a new batch of medical nin. He's even planning on offering her to place a medical nin on every team like she petitioned the Sandaime Hokage before she left," Dosu explained. "Interesting." Naruto chuckled. "This seems like a good time to get a spy into the ranks of Konoha. I'll do this one myself. Inform Minari that he is to be in charge while I am away. Both of you are to return to spying and information gathering." "Yes, my lord." They both nodded as they turned and left while Naruto went to his quarters and dressed for the part he planned on playing. In Konoha, Minato was finishing briefing Jiraiya on the mission of bringing Tsunade back to the village. "We need her back, so do whatever it takes to convince her," Minato stated. "I'll see what I can do, but you know how she is." Jiraiya shrugged. "And take Naruko with you. She's been moping since she lost to Yami in the Chunin exams, and some time away from the village should be just what she needs," Minato added. "In all honesty, that beatdown was just what the doctor ordered. She was getting way overconfident," Jiraiya pointed out, "but I'll take her with me. She might have a better chance of getting Tsunade back than me." Minato chose to ignore Jiraiya's comment about his daughter as the older nin left and went to get the young girl. As the pair left the village, Jiraiya noted what Minato had said when he told him that Naruko was moping. Normally she was excited to go out on a mission and show her skills, but now she was quiet and didn't want to say anything to her godfather. "Still upset about losing to Yami?" Jiraiya asked as they walked. "I'm not upset," Naruko huffed. "Sure you aren't?" Jiraiya chuckled. "Well, there is always someone stronger than you out there." "But Dad said I was the best the village has," Naruko muttered. "And Yami was the best that AIM had. Plus he isn't a prodigy like you are, so he had to fight tooth and nail for his skills. Thus he pushed himself further than you have for now," Jiraiya explained. Naruko was silent for a few moments before speaking. "You ever lose like that?" "Yeah, Orochimaru kicked my ass like that once when we were kids, right in front of Tsunade too." Jiraiya chuckled. "But in the end I got right back up, and once I was fully healed fought him again. In the end they may be stronger than you, but it doesn't mean that they are better than you." "Really?" Naruko asked. "Really. Yami is a tough customer, one that doesn't come around very often. Be thankful you fought him in a situation where he couldn't kill you outright in the first 5 seconds, because that is the kind of guy you run from on the battlefield." Jiraiya chuckled. "And just think, he still has some growing up to do himself." "That's not helping me, Jiraiya." Naruko sighed as they continued walking. Naruto sighed as he entered into the next gambling town known as Tensukage. This was the 4th one that he had been to in the past week, and he was getting tired of trying to find his godmother. As he walked, he stopped at a few different dens, and after playing a few hands of various games, and winning a good amount of cash, he inquired about Tsunade, and to his relief she had been sighted in town. Smiling, he made a mass amount of cage punchin and sent them searching for her, and when they disappeared he smiled and walked straight towards the bar where she was now drinking. Naruto walked through the door and paused as he spotted Tsunade and frowned at her when he did. Tsunade looked at him and stared right back and looked to her student and muttered a question. The student made some reply before Naruto grinned as he walked over to her. "Bai-chan." He smiled as he sat down across from her. "There are only 2 children stupid enough to call me that." Tsunade chuckled as she ran an eye over Naruto. "You're looking well, Naruto." "Thanks." Naruto smiled. He had dressed all in worn black travel gear, with a light pack and leather armor. On his hip was a standard katana, and he had used a henge on his eyes to return them to their original cerulean stature. "Naruto." The student nodded as Naruto looked at her and suddenly recognized her. "Shizune-chan." "Man, you have grown up." He laughed. "You are one to talk. You've got to be as tall as Minato by now." Shizune chuckled. "So what are you doing here, Naruto?" Tsunade asked. "On my way back from a mission, stopping her for the night," Naruto replied. What about you? Here for a few days then back to traveling. Tsunade replied with a shrug. So how are things in the village? Shizune asked. Naruto paused as he looked at her and then back to Tsunade. You haven't heard? Naruto asked with a frown. Heard what? Tsunade asked, slightly concerned. I left a little more than 10 years ago. Naruto replied and watched as their eyes widened. Left? Tsunade exclaimed. What are you talking about? I got tired of being ignored and playing second to Naruko in everything. I just up and left, and no one came looking for me to my knowledge. I went to AIM, got trained to be a shinobi and now I do freelance work. Naruto explained. You were ignored? Shizune asked in shock. What were Kushina and Minato thinking? Clearly about Naruko. Naruto replied with a chuckle. It doesn't matter. I've been on my own for so long I bet they think I'm dead. That's not a good thing Naruto. Tsunade sighed. You should go back. Coming from you? Naruto sighed. Come on Ba-chan. You left because you had your own ghosts there. You really don't have a right to be telling me to go back. I'm still a loyal shinobi. Tsunade replied. I was never a shinobi in Konoha. I left when I was still a civilian. Naruto pointed out. The two medics exchanged glances before looking back at Naruto. You should at least try to make peace with your family. I'm sure that they miss you. Shizune pointed out. I doubt it. Naruto snorted. But for you two I will at least try. Good. Tsunade nodded. So what have you been up to? Jiraiya and Naruko left the last gambling den and were soon walking towards a bar to grab a bite to eat and a drink. As they entered they spotted a blonde with his back to them, Shizune, and Tsunade sitting there with several sake bottles on the table. And the client looks at me and says, wait, if you're here who's watching the horses? The blonde laughed boisterously. Tsunade, Jiraiya called as he walked towards the older woman. Ah Jiraiya. Tsunade chuckled. This is just a day of reunions. Oh hey Jiraiya. Naruto smiled as he turned in his seat and saw Naruko staring at him with her mouth hanging open. Hey Naruko, come take a seat. You. Naruko shouted as she tried to punch him. Naruto only leaned enough to dodge the fist, grabbed her wrist and flipped her onto the floor. Geez sis. Always to the violence. I was enjoying myself here. Naruto sighed as he looked back at the two medics. Does this count as me trying to make nice? No. Tsunade sighed as she looked at Naruko on the floor. Well, pull up a chair. You two Jiraiya. Soon the two newcomers were seated at the table and Shizune looked at Naruto. So what happened with the rest of that mission? She asked. Had to walk all the way back to the town. But the mission was a success and this guy gave me an outstanding review. Naruto chuckled. So what are you doing here Jiraiya? I'm here on business actually. Jiraiya sighed as he looked at Tsunade. Minato sent me to ask you to come back to the village. He's prepared to accept the proposal that you made to Sarutobi sensei years ago. HMPH. Tsunade snorted. And if I decline? Minato asked me to do everything in my power to convince you. Jiraiya stated. Look, I know that you don't like the village, but we do need you. Tsunade was silent for a few moments before Naruto spoke. Weren't you just telling me that you were a loyal nin and would go back when they asked? Naruto asked with a smug grin. Naruto, if you don't want to get punched into next week I'd stay out of this. Tsunade said, but a grin was forming in the corners of her mouth. Please Ba-chan. After what Orochimaru did to the village we need all the medical nin we can get. Naruko begged. And my teammate Sakura would be a great candidate. She already has great chakra control. Tsunade stated Naruko in the eye as the young girl gave her the puppy dog eyes and soon sighed before speaking. Geez, I'll think about it. Okay? That's fine. Jiraiya nodded as he started sipping his own glass of sake. So Naruto, you're looking well. Constant training for 10 years will do that to you. Naruto chuckled. Soon they were having pointless banter, with Naruko glaring at Naruto every time he spoke, and by the time the bar closed Jiraiya was helping a very drunk Tsunade back to the hotel while Naruko went to their hotel to sleep, leaving Naruto alone with Shizune as they walked. Naruko seemed very upset with you. Shizune noted. Yeah, but we never did get along too well. Naruto nodded as they walked. I know, but from her reaction it seems like she really hates you now. She might. Maybe mom and dad did feel some regret and pushed her harder to try and forget about it. Either way it doesn't matter too much to me, Naruto stated as he glanced around. Something wrong? Shizune asked as she spotted the glance. Nothing. Thought I heard something. Naruto shrugged as he now knew that the street was empty and that there was no one nearby. Moving with a speed that Shizune wasn't expecting, he knocked her out and smirked as he pulled her into a deserted alley. Once there he moved her shirt enough to get to her chest where he began the intricate seal pattern that would become the slave seal once activated. It took a few minutes, but once it was finished he activated it and the chakra pulse from it woke Shizune up. Master Naruto, how may I serve you? Shizune said, Her head bowed to him. "You are to be my spy inside Konoha. You are going to act normally around everyone else unless otherwise ordered to. You will send me regular reports, sending them by messenger bird to a different outpost that I will designate with my reply. You will follow my orders discreetly and ensure that you raise no suspicion when you are following them." "Yes, Master Naruto." Shizune nodded. "Good. Now act normally around me for the rest of the time here and make sure to raise no suspicion from Tsunade," Naruto added. "Of course, Naruto." Shizune nodded again as they walked out of the alley and soon went their separate ways, with Naruto heading for his hotel room. The blonde slept lightly so he was able to hear the hissing of the explosive tag on the outside of his window. Reacting with swiftness that is only born from years of practice, he switched out with the cage punch and then reappeared on the building across the street just as the tag went off, and he saw Naruto jump through the smoke and into the room, only to find that he wasn't there. Naruto grinned as he sat where Naruko would be able to see him when she turned to go back out the ruined wall, and waited for a few moments when he saw her turn and see him. "You!" she shouted as she threw several shuriken at him that would have hit him directly had he not jumped down, using chakra to adhere himself to the side of the building as he flashed through hand signs. "Futon, Sandenju shotgun," Naruto stated as he fired dozens of widespread wind spheres, the size of marbles, into his sister, who hadn't had time to react and sent her skidding back from the shots. Naruto frowned as she didn't charge him and blinked when he saw the blast of fire heading right for him. Leaping up, he saw the fire jutsu smash into the building and that his sister had come out at him, flashing through more hand signs. "Katen, Kyuubi and Fire Dragon Flame Bullet," Naruto roared as 3 different fire dragons headed for Naruto, who saw them and grinned as he flashed through more hand signs. "Suiten, Mizu no Tate Shield of Water," Naruto grinned as he spewed out tons of water from his mouth and had it form a sphere around him that the fire hit, creating a massive column of steam as he poured more and more water into it to keep himself from being roasted alive. Once the fire stopped, Naruto used the steam to his advantage and activated his Sharingan and was able to pick out where exactly his sister was as he moved towards her, katana drawn, and struck with the back of it, sending her skidding from the rooftop where she had landed and falling towards the street. Naruto instantly reacted, landing on the side of the building like Naruto had earlier, and skidded to a stop while sending a few kunai flying up in case her brother chose to continue the assault. She was rewarded by the sound of her kunai being deflected, and she took a fighting stance and let her ears pick out the sounds of Naruto attacking her. Naruto and Naruko were soon locked in a deadly dance, with the blonde girl using 2 kunai to hold off his katana while Naruto made sure to keep his attacks short and swift so she wouldn't be able to use the 2 kunai defense system. It wasn't long before the steam cleared and the two were able to see again, with Naruto stopping his Sharingan and focusing more on his hyper-awareness to keep track of his sister's attacks. They fought. The two were fighting for several more minutes before they were both grabbed by the backs of their necks and thrown apart by Jiraiya, who stood in between them on the side of the building looking absolutely furious. "Enough!" he shouted at them as he looked at both of them. Naruko looked ashamed when he started shouting at her, and before she could try and argue, Jiraiya sent her a glare that told her not to try it. Naruto sheathed his blade and met Jiraiya's gaze with one that said he was perfectly clear of any crime. "Jiraiya!" Tsunade shouted as she arrived. "Shizune has gotten the last of the civilians away. What is going on here?" "That's what I would like to know." Jiraiya agreed as he looked between the two blondes. "Who would like to explain?" "She attacked me," Naruto stated calmly. "I was sitting in my hotel room when I heard the sound of an explosive tag outside my window. I reacted and used the Karimi no Jutsu to get out of the room. I saw Naruko go in, and when she came back out I attacked in self-defense, using techniques that would do minimal harm to her and my surroundings." "Naruko?" Jiraiya began as he looked at the girl who glared at Naruto before speaking. "I wasn't going to kill him, just beat him up enough to tell me where he hid Mom's sword and Dad's scroll." "What now?" Tsunade asked as she looked at Naruto. "I took those when I left," Naruto explained with a shrug, "and they're in a safe place that only I can get to." "Naruto," Tsunade sighed as she looked between the blondes. "You both are idiots." "Hey!" the two blondes in question shouted at the same time before glaring at one another. "This is old news in the village, Tsunade," Jiraiya replied. Minato already had copies of the jutsus in the scroll, so he managed to make another one that was very close to the one that Naruto took, and Kushina has managed to get another katana, but they shouldn't have had to. If you hadn't run away, none of this would have happened. Naruko shouted. If I had stayed, I would have always been in your shadow. I made my choice and am happier from it. Naruto retorted as he looked at Tsunade. If this is what I have to make nice with, then forget it. I'd rather walk barefoot through the K's no Kuni desert than try to make amends with the spoiled brat and the bastards that claim to be my parents. With that, Naruto disappeared in swirl of leaves that was quickly followed by Jiraiya while Tsunade stopped Naruto from following them. Naruto! Jiraiya shouted as he caught up to the blonde who had stopped a few blocks away. What? Naruto sighed as he stopped. What is going on here? When I saw you at the Chunin exams, your eyes were different, and you were an AIM shinobi. Undercover. Naruto sighed as he let the hinge drop. I am supposed to be getting close to the new ruler in Nami no Kuni. Why? Jiraiya asked. Because Nagato is worried about this. This guy is up to something and he doesn't want to be caught flat-footed. He sent me undercover to get close to this guy and find out what he is up to. He's gathering forces for something, but no one knows what. Jiraiya frowned at this new information. He had known about this mysterious new ruler of Nami no Kuni but didn't have too many details since they had closed their borders to Hai no Kuni in response to Konoha blacklisting them. He knew now that he would need to watch this nation very carefully in the future. So why were you here? Jiraiya asked. I was on my way back from working as a free sword. I need to build a reputation first. That's why. Naruto shrugged as he put the hinge back up. I need to go before Naruko causes more trouble. Here. Naruto then tossed Jiraiya a stack of bills to cover the damages. I tried to keep them to a minimum, but you know how Naruko is. Yeah, still, be careful, Naruto. I'd hate to hear that you got yourself killed. Thanks, Jiraiya. Naruto nodded as he turned and left. Jiraiya sighed as he went back to Naruko and Tsunade, who were standing in the street with the chief of police. This was a Konoha matter, Jiraiya stated to calm the officer, and we are prepared to pay for the damages. Still, the officer began. Here, Jiraiya said as he handed the officer the stack of bills that Naruto had given him, plus a few more of his own to pay for the damages and any injuries for the people who were caught in the middle of this. If it's not enough, send word to the Hokage and he will see to it that the rest is taken care of. Fine. But if this happens again, we will arrest any parties involved. The officer growled as he turned and walked away while Jiraiya glared at Naruko. You are going to be paying me back every last ryo of that, he stated calmly as the girl looked ashamed. I don't care what Naruto took. That was no excuse for causing so much damage and endangering people's lives. You need to use your head more before you act. I'm sorry, Naruko said as the older Sannin just sighed and looked at Tsunade. Anything to add? No, you summed it up pretty well. Tsunade nodded as Shizune came up and told them that the worst of the wounded she had treated and that the rest had only minor injuries. It wasn't long before they returned to the village and they were standing in Minato's office giving their report. Alright, let me start with this. Tsunade, Shizune, welcome back to the village. I know that this isn't exactly the first place that you want to be, but we do very much need your help. I have a list of promising students for you to look at and hopefully we can have a medic with every team within the next 3 years. You two are dismissed. Minato started as the two nodded and left the room, being given a list of shinobi by the secretary. Once they left, Minato continued, now let me make sure that I have this right. You saw Naruto, who is apparently now a freelance shinobi. Naruko attacked him without provocation, and you Jiraiya stopped the fight and let Naruto leave. Do I have that right? Yeah. Jiraiya nodded. Couldn't bring him back since he left as a civilian and is now officially out of your reach. I know. Minato sighed, which is the only reason I am not shouting at you, sensei. Naruko, do you have any idea how much trouble you have caused because of your temper? Yes. Naruko nodded. Then you understand that I have to punish you, both as your father and as Hokage? Yes. Very well then. As Hokage I am putting you on probation and confining you to D-rank missions for the next 6 months, meaning you get no pay for these missions as they will all go to Jiraiya to repay him for the money he had to put up for the damage you caused. As a father you are grounded for the next 9 months, meaning you are not allowed out of your room unless your mother or I are training you, or you are out on a mission. I will be informing Kakashi of this fact so he can make sure that you don't try to pull a fast one on either of these punishments. You are dismissed, Naruko. Yes sir. Naruko nodded as she walked out of the room and Minato looked at Jiraiya. How is he? He asked. Doing well. Jiraiya stated he was talking with Tsunade and Shizune when we arrived, and they had convinced him to try to make nice at least until Naruko attacked him the next morning. Overall I'd say that he is a Chunin level shinobi, if not higher. He has good instincts and a good grasp of his surroundings in a fight, since all of his jutsus caused minimal to no damage to the buildings and people around him. In fact, he was the one that gave me the majority of that money for the damages. I see. Minato sighed. It's good to know that he is alright. He has a grudge against you and Kushina, Jiraiya warned. I know, and I doubt that I could ever make amends for it, but I would like to try at least. If you see him again, try to convince him to come back. I won't force him to stay, but I want the chance to make right with him. I'll try, but he won't be easy to find. Freelance shinobi are difficult to track down as it is, and finding one in particular will be much harder. Jiraiya nodded. Thank you. Minato smiled. This will at least put Kushina at ease a bit, especially knowing that her son is a kenjutsuist. It will. Jiraiya smiled as well as he left the office. From a few blocks away, Dosu smirked as the sound seal that he had slipped into the office transmitted everything to him as he copied it all down. This new information would prove most useful to Naruto. Of that he was certain. Expanding the kingdom. Naruto frowned as he finished working on a new version of his enslavement seal. This one would use far less chakra than the other and would work just as well if his calculations were correct. He had been tinkering with this seal for many years, ever since he had started making his own plans to take over the world. When he had asked Nagato about seals, the man had explained that they were a very complex and dangerous subject to learn and that he had little experience in making them himself. Kakuzu knew a little more but not enough to quench the boy's thirst for knowledge, and so Tobi had gone and bought him every book on Finjutsu that he could get, and from there Naruto developed his own brand of seals that the Akatsuki used regularly. His seals were ingenious as he found what exactly it took to make a tag work and how to supercharge some elements while removing chakra costing others, thus making easier to use seals. It was from this point that he soon developed his own seals, starting with a seal that could absorb the elements, such as fire and lightning, and then release them back at an opponent as if you had used the jutsu or caused the natural element yourself. Then he went into physical augmentation seals and finally into the mental aspects of it. These were uncharted territories and he had to be extremely careful of how he used these seals and where. He had already killed more than 5 dozen failed seal experiments before he got the first version of the slave seal correct, and he was now finishing the third version of it, and hoped that it would work as well as his other versions had. Standing up, he nodded and walked towards the civilian that they had captured from High no Kuni and smirked as he placed the seal onto his chest. As the man struggled with a small burst of chakra, he activated the seal and stepped back as its effects took hold. Master, the man finally said as the seal finished its work, return to your home and await further instructions. Act normal as if nothing happened, and if asked about your disappearance, create a convincing and easy-to-remember lie. Naruto ordered. Yes, master. The man nodded as Naruto untied him and watched him leave. Smiling to himself, Naruto cleaned up his supplies before walking out of his small Finjutsu room and back into the halls of his palace. As he walked, he noted various thralls working on maintaining the palace's splendor and nodded to each of them in turn as he walked past before stopping when he saw an ice mirror forming in front of him. Haku soon emerged from the mirror and bowed towards Naruto before speaking. My lord, we have made contact with the rebels and they have agreed to your terms. However, they are requesting the assistance in defeating Yagura as he has increased his security and they can no longer make any attempts to weaken his power without sustaining heavy losses and losing the support of the villagers that are supporting them. Haku explained. I see. Inform them that I will head to Mizu no Kuni in 10 days' time and that they are to have someone meet me at the harbor. Naruto ordered. As you wish, my lord. Haku nodded as she re-entered her mirror and left while Naruto again made his preparations to leave. It took several days to reach the eastern shores of High no Kuni and from there pay for passage on a vessel that would take him to Mizu no Kuni. After the long voyage was complete, Naruto disembarked smirking as he let the enthralled passengers go about their business as if nothing had occurred and knowing that this country would be a great step forward if he could manage to take it quietly. As he walked, he picked up a shadow moving towards him through the crowds and the person was soon walking beside him. I trust that you are our guest, the woman whispered as they walked. And if I am? Naruto replied. Then I am to guide you to the meeting point. You will have to forgive me however, as we will not be taking you to our actual hideout. She replied. Of course. Naruto smirked as he let her take the lead and soon they were out of the small city and taking a ferry to a different island where she quickly led him through the mist-shrouded woods until they finally stopped. They were in a small clearing with 2 cloaked figures standing at the opposite end that he had entered from. You are the daimyo of Nami no Kuni?" the woman across the clearing asked. "I am." Naruto nodded. "Then you know that we are in dire straits to be accepting outside help for an internal matter," a man stated from the side of the woman who had spoken. "I do. That is why I am here," Naruto replied. "I helped turn Nami no Kuni around from the downtrodden hellhole that it had become under my predecessor's leadership, and I will help you to do the same." "Why?" the man asked. "Because I have a dream of world peace, and I intend to see that dream to fruition," Naruto replied. "I know that you will likely not believe me and that deeds will speak louder than words, so allow me to prove to you my intentions." "How so?" the woman who had led him there asked. "I will remove Yagura from his position of power. All I will need is the information on his abilities, the security of the village and his personal areas. I will also need to know to what extent has your daimyo gotten involved." The three figures traded looks before speaking. "We will need time to gather the maps and documents needed to show you this," the second woman explained. "Then do so. Time is of the essence," Naruto replied as he sat on the ground and waited as the three moved out of sight. Naruto waited a few moments before speaking. "Come out now." Zabuza only chuckled as he dropped down from the mist and stood beside Naruto. "Their base is nearby enough where they shouldn't be gone for more than an hour. Plenty of time for me to give you the rundown." "Then do so." "From what my sources have gathered, the daimyo and his forces are staying out of this due to the fact that they fear that if they oppose one side or the other that they will suffer retribution should the side they choose loses." Zabuza began. "Gutless wretches," Naruto snorted. "Yagura is incredibly paranoid at this time, more so than when I served him. He doesn't allow any of the same servants to have the same set schedule, and he changes his randomly. He's likely suffering the negative effects of a powerful genjutsu that hasn't been updated in some time. That would likely be my late friend Tobi." Naruto chuckled. "Anything else?" "The woman in charge is my Terumi. She has some powerful abilities and would likely be the next Mizukage once you get the turtle off the throne. She's the one that met you here. The man with her is a former ANBU agent here named Aoi. He has a Byakugan under his eye patch, so be cautious around him. The one that escorted you here is just a basic shinobi with no real threat to you. She was sent on the off chance that this was a trap and she could be easily lost without any repercussions on them," Zabuza explained. "I see. Where are the other three?" Naruto asked. "In various locations, though I have kept Haku close by to deliver hidden messages when needed. She's getting better with her Hyoten since we got here. She's had more time to practice it in an espionage sense instead of a combat one," Naruto stated. "Now get going. I will wait for our hosts to return." Zabuza only nodded as he disappeared into the mist again and was quickly gone from visible sight. Naruto waited for close to an hour after Zabuza left when Mai and her group returned and set down several folders in front of the blonde. "This is everything that we have on Yagura, from his abilities to the closest thing that he has to a schedule. This also included the village defenses and the layout as well," Mai explained. "Excellent. And the papers regarding the daimyo?" Naruto asked. "In the third folder," Mai replied. "Good. I will read over this and formulate my own plan." Naruto nodded as he stood up and moved into the shade of the forest as he began going over the information. The next morning he had his plan, and after making sure that he was properly equipped he slipped off towards Kurigakure no Sato. Using the mist to his advantage, he made use of his Sharingan and turned intangible as he slipped through the walls and into the village, keeping his black cloak pulled up to hide his features and make him look like a specter in the streets of the village should anyone see him. It took some time to avoid the constant patrols that were moving about the village as he made his way into the tower and from there up to the Mizukage's office, where he heard the pacing of a person. Smirking, Naruto went out a window and moved to the large window that looked in on the office to see Yagura pacing and muttering under his breath as he tried to figure out some problem. "It's those freaks. They want me dead. I have to kill them first," he muttered. "But that man with the red eyes said to not wipe them all out. But he could be a spy. Or he couldn't be," Yagura muttered as he continued to pace as Naruto phased through the window and looked at the Yandere Mizukage with a mix of interest and pity, deciding that his best solution would be to take him from the very damageable village and into the Kamui dimension. As soon as he pulled the Mizukage into it, he began to panic and started to transform into his full Baju state. "No, I will not be controlled again," he roared in anger as he went into the second stage of the Baju cloak where he no longer looked human but hadn't taken the full form of the Sanbi yet. Really now? Naruto asked as he looked at the man and leaned around one of the tails as it tried to spear him, because the man I took this eye from seemed to have done a very impressive job of manipulating you. Turned you into this raving lunatic that stands before me. Naruto then leapt over a tail that tried to stab him from behind before flipping and landing behind Yagura. You are suffering from the effects of a powerful genjutsu that my mentor placed on you. Allow me to alleviate it. Get away, he roared as smashed the ground and forced Naruto to move back as he shifted into his full Baju form. The hard way it is then. Naruto chuckled as he skidded back before creating a Rasengan in his hand and a clone that was adding the elemental release. He had quickly realized that trying to do both at the same time was tricky and took a lot of preparation to finish, and that for speed a clone was the best option. At the moment he was creating his version of the lightning Rasengan, though taking it a step farther and making it into an S-ranked ninjutsu. As he finished it, it elongated into a spear that flickered a bright yellow light with the point going at a diagonal that varied each time it flickered, from facing the left side to facing the right. Die! Yagura roared as he fired a Bijiyama at Naruto, who charged forward while phasing into reality to avoid the blow and returning to the pocket dimension above Yaguru's head. Raisin Javelin! Naruto roared as he stabbed the spear into Yaguru's neck and grinned. The electricity hit the giant turtle and caused him to roar in pain before he finally shifted back and lay twitching on the ground as his nervous system tried to recover from such a powerful technique that nearly destroyed every nerve in the body. Naruto shook his head as he walked over and looked down at the defeated Kage before using the Sharingan to enter his mind and remove the influence that Tobi had left there. Once he was finished, Naruto stepped back and waited for the Jinchuriki to recover before he spoke to him. I'm free! Yagura gasped as he looked at Naruto. You saved me. Not quite. Naruto chuckled. You're nowhere near saved yet. What do you mean? The genjutsu may have been the cause of your actions, but in the end the people want you gone. If you try to reassume control, then you are walking into an assassination attempt. The people don't want you around anymore, and the only options you have are to die here and now, or to accept my offer, Naruto explained as he held eye contact with the young man. What kind of deal? We will fake your death and you will become my shadow, my personal bodyguard that will help me defeat my enemies and achieve world peace. World peace? Yagura asked with a snort. That will never happen. Maybe, but we will never know unless we try, Naruto replied with a grin. Now what will it be? I'll accept. Life is preferable to death. An excellent choice. Now hold still while I place a seal on you that will prevent you from betraying me, Naruto explained as he placed the same kill seal that he had on Zabuza and his team onto the former Kage. This seal will kill you if you attempt to betray me in any way. I cannot afford to have my plans ruined by a traitor. Clever, Yagura stated as he slowly stood up. So I am your bodyguard now, and you will also be a sounding board for ideas at times and a general when the final war begins, Naruto explained as he unsealed a black cloak with a black mask that a white design on the front to look like a turtle face. You will wear this at all times, unless otherwise ordered to. Fine. Yagura nodded as he donned the mask and spoke, his voice changing. Seals underneath to hide your chakra and to alter your voice, Naruto replied as he pulled them out of the Kamui dimension. Naruto had Yagura leave the tower and wait near the edge of the forest while he sat behind the desk with a smirk as he waited for Mai to arrive. A few hours later Mai walked in to see him sitting there, looking over various files with a smirk as he did. You killed him? Mai asked. Incinerated his body. Couldn't run the risk of him recovering from a failed attack. Then why are you still here? She frowned. You forget my terms for aiding you. Naruto chuckled as he faced her, his eyes penetrating her very soul with how dark they were. I get to name the next Mizukage, along with the loyalty of this village. And if we decline? She asked. I've held up my end of the bargain. You wouldn't want your next Mizukage to follow the footsteps of the previous one, would you? Naruto asked, his grin still in place. Is that a threat? Mai hissed. It's merely a statement. I have no intention of letting you break this agreement, so think carefully about your next choice, as it will determine if you will lead this village as a proper shinobi, or if you are simply a puppet holding this position, Naruto stated calmly. Mai glared at the blonde sitting behind the desk and without a hint of what she intended she spat a ball of lava at Naruto, who flickered from side as he appeared to her right, his grin gone. Very well then. Naruto sighed as though he had just checked something off his to-do list. Spinning, he kicked Mai in the side, sending her crashing into the wall where he created two clones to hold her down as he walked in front of her, drawing a kunai to rip open her shirt. What are you going to do? Rape me? She spat. Hardly. though not because you are unattractive," Naruto replied as he unsealed his ink. Said, "I'm going to follow through on what I warned you. You will be the Godai Mizukage, but in title only. Try to channel any chakra and my clones will hurt you." With those final words he quickly began drawing the seal on her skin as she tried to resist and move, but the clones holding her wouldn't budge an inch. It only took a few moments before he finished, and once done he channeled his chakra into the seal and watched it take effect and wipe the mind of my Terumi, turning into a mindless doll. "Rise, slave!" Naruto spat as the body complied. "You are now the Mizukage of this village. You will begin by giving the order to have all shinobi and civilians place the following seal on their hearts in order to protect them from a similar genjutsu that was placed on Yagura. Unless I am around, you will behave as the previous you had, and will ensure that no suspicion falls upon you that you are a mere puppet. Am I understood?" "Yes, my master." Mai nodded as she proceeded to make the announcement. Many of the shinobi were hesitant about this, but after Mai explained the reasoning behind this and why it would be necessary, they complied. Naruto smirked as he saw that the seals were all in place as he sent a wave of his chakra over the village, leaving him short of breath and slightly dizzy as he felt a decent amount of his chakra dissipate. Inside the village, the people suddenly all knew that Naruto was their lord and master, and that even the Mizukage was his servant, and thus they were as well. They carried on as normal, knowing that he wanted them to proceed as if everything was normal unless otherwise ordered. "Most impressive," a voice behind Naruto said as he turned to see that Zetsu was standing there. "Zetsu-sensei." Naruto nodded as he faced the giant plant. "What do I owe the pleasure?" "Just checking on the man who killed Tobi." White Zetsu replied. "It was very well done. I learned from the best." Naruto replied. "But you should know that you upset our master's plans." Black Zetsu warned. "So you were taking orders from someone else?" "I thought so." "Regardless, I do not care. I am implementing my own plan." Naruto replied calmly. "Hey? And doing an impressive job of it." White Zetsu snorted. "Taking control of a small nation and one of the 5 great shinobi villages is no small feat." "It's only the beginning." Naruto replied. 3 different plans for world peace. Only one will succeed. Let's see which of us it is." Before Zetsu could say more, Naruto walked off and made his way into the village again, while Zetsu sank into the ground and was heading back to his mysterious master to report what he had learned from Naruto. 2 days later, Mai along with Naruto went to visit the daimyo who wanted to meet the new Mizukage along with the visiting dignitary. They had to wait for several minutes before the leader would see them, and when he did he had such a false smile that Naruto wanted to kill him right then and there. "Ah, the Mizukage. I am pleased to meet you," he said as he then looked at Naruto and the new daimyo of Nami no Kuni. "A pleasure as well." "I'm sure it is." Naruto grinned as well as he closed the door behind him, silently flipping the lock and moving toward the daimyo. "Now then, first allow me to apologize for not assisting you in the matter with Yagura. It isn't my place to interfere in shinobi matters after all," he explained. "Of course," Mai replied as she took a seat across from the older man. Naruto only stood off to the side before adding his thoughts, deciding to go with quick action instead of dragging it on and making his temper even worse. "But it is your responsibility." "That would be like my here saying that she isn't responsible for what her genin did out on a mission." "You are the man in charge here, and yet you sat behind your desk like a sniveling coward while your people suffered," Naruto stated. The Mizukage daimyo sputtered a few seconds before crying. "You have no right to say that." "Don't I? Apparently you haven't heard about how I became the daimyo of Nami no Kuni. I killed my predecessor after I learned that he aided a corrupt industrialist to make a monopoly on the shipping industry and bleed the country dry, even going so far as to kill an innocent man who was trying to build a bridge to aid his people." "So what makes you think that you are any different than him, allowing your people to suffer under the insane actions of the Yodai Mizukage?" Naruto chuckled as he stepped closer, letting his ki trickle out enough to have the man trying to get as far away from the blonde as he could. "Mizukage, stop him!" he shouted. "Slave, restrain him," Naruto ordered. "Yes, master," Mai stated blankly as she moved quickly and had one foot on the daimyo's back while using her hands to hold his arms behind his back. Naruto walked forward and knelt down in front of the pathetic leader in front of him. "Now then, I would kill you normally, however you are far more useful alive." Naruto chuckled as he slashed the kimono off of the man and left his bare chest clear as he started a seal pattern on the man. Once finished, he triggered the seal and the man became one of his many thralls. "Now then, let us begin with your orders." Naruto chuckled as he had the man change clothes. "You will have every person in this nation of yours place this seal upon their chests, and once done you will inform me. After that you will continue to rule this nation, However, my way, you'd be taking 15% of your total taxes and giving them to this private company. This company will be hiring many of your people to rebuild Azunokuni. Once this is done, those people will be moving there and become the first of many new citizens. I think it's time that I have the capital of my empire rebuilt. If my calculations are correct, this should take approximately 3 years to complete. I am placing you in charge. Now I want you to take the greatest of cautions that this is done quietly. For if I find out that this plan is discovered by one of my enemies, I will force you to eat your own limbs piece by piece before I finally kill you. Now if anything unexpected arises, you will send word to me and stall until I can reply back. Yes, Lord Naruto. The puppet leader nodded as Naruto turned and walked out of the room with my right behind him. As Naruto walked through the halls, Yagura and Zabuza's group joined him. What are our orders? Zabuza asked. You four will remain here and be reinstated as shinobi. You are my voice here while I am away. You are to follow Zabuza's orders as though they are my own. Yes, master. I nodded. Hey? So I'm in charge technically. Zabuza chuckled. While I am away, yes. Naruto chuckled. Haku is to act as a messenger between us, that way I am kept informed while I am away. Fine. Taking the dark guy with you? Zabuza asked, referring to the masked Yagura. Yes, he will be with me at all times. Naruto replied as he walked away. You have your orders. Now I have other matters to attend to. Zabuza only nodded as Naruto and Yagura walked off and made their way back towards the ferry that would take them directly to Nami no Kuni. Training exercise. In Konoha, the 4 Jonin of the Genin 12 were sitting in a tea shop discussing their charges and how to further help them grow. Sasuke has actually been working harder than ever. After seeing Yami defeat Gaara like that, I think he realized how far he has to go to defeat Itachi. Kakashi noted, though I think he is trying to learn to use the curse seal. What makes you say that? Asuma asked. Just a hunch. He's doing a good job of hiding it, but there are moments where he seems to hesitate, like he is deciding whether to use it or not. If he doesn't let it consume his flames of youth, then it can't be too bad. Guy exclaimed. Jiraiya would disagree with you there. Kakashi stated calmly he thinks that Orochimaru might use it to control him. So what about Naruko? Kurenai asked. She's still training hard, but she is still on probation for a few more weeks. After that stunt she pulled with Jiraiya, she should be lucky she got off that lightly. Kurenai snorted. I agree. However, we are working on her judgment skills now more than her physical capabilities. Kakashi nodded. And Sakura is working on becoming a medical nin, and she is doing a pretty good job of that. That's good. Asuma nodded. What about your team, Guy? And please be straight with us, Kakashi stated, cutting his proclaimed rival off from a loud and slightly embellished telling. Neji is brooding. Guy sighed. He took his defeat to Hinata hard, and is throwing himself into his training to try and surpass her. Lee and Tenten have done what they can to keep up with him, but this is the first time I have seen him so determined. I'm not surprised. Hinata caught all of us off guard with that win. Kurenai nodded. I don't know how she did it, but she managed to find her confidence and somehow surpass what we estimated her strength at. So how is she? Asuma asked. Working harder than ever, and she seems to be developing her own fighting style. Her father is furious about this, but he has little say in the matter. Kurenai stated. Personally, I am happy for this change, but a little worried as well. She seems to be driven by something and refuses to tell me what it is. This is the first time she has ever avoided a topic with me. She is growing up. Maybe she is hitting that rebellious phase, Asuma suggested. Maybe Shino and Kiba are a little worried about her, but they are going with it as well, not wanting to be outdone, I guess. Kurenai shrugged. My team is almost the same as ever. Kind of wish they would get that kick in the pants that yours have. Asuma chuckled. Be stricter with them. Kakashi shrugged. That wouldn't work. Asuma sighed. When has being strict with Nara ever worked? A valid argument. Guy nodded. You know, I think all of our teams could use a good training exercise, Kakashi stated, shocking them with the idea. I mean, most of our teams came out of the Chunin exams with some kind of negative experience, but at the same time are using it to push themselves further. Let's test that newfound resolve and see if we can harden it into something more fitting for Konoha shinobi. But what? Asuma asked. I may be able to help, a man said as he stopped by their table. An older man with a Suna headband around his forehead. Pardon the interruption, but I couldn't help but overhear. I might have a suggestion for you. And you are? Kakashi asked with a frown. My name is Asakura. An old Suna veteran that was called back into service recently. Yo smiled. I'm just here to pick up some new supplies before heading home. And your suggestion? Asuma asked. There is a place we take our teams when they are having issues, as your teams are. We call it the maze. It is a labyrinth in Kawa no Kuni made of a peculiar stone that hides chakra and can cause mild hallucinations. These hallucinations will generally force them to face an uncomfortable truth about themselves that will help them become better shinobi. Yo explained. I think I've heard of this. Kakashi nodded. It's a dangerous place, said to be avoided only if you don't know what to expect. Those that have passed through the maze have grown to be better shinobi and become truly invaluable to their village. Yo added, it is only a suggestion, but this may help your teams. With that, the man walked away and left to Jonin to discuss what he had just said. As he slipped down an alley, he dropped the hens, revealing himself to be Dosu as he chuckled to himself and made his way to send the message to Naruto that the Jonin had been given the bait. A week later, the 4 genin teams were packed and heading towards the infamous maze. As they moved through the countryside, you could literally feel the tension among the teams. Naruko was sulking while Sasuke seemed to be lost in thought and ignoring everything around him. Neji was shooting death glares at Hinata, who in turn only smirked at Neji whenever he glared at her. Kiba and Shino looked nervous around the 2 Hyugas, while Tenten seemed to trying to get Neji to calm down, while Lee was having a loud discussion with Guy about this training exercise. The only team acting somewhat normally was Team 10, who had Ino staring at Sasuke while Choji and Shikamaru talked amiably. It took most of the day to reach the southern edge of Kawa no Kuni, and once they did, they made camp on a ridge overlooking the mist-shrouded maze. The next morning, the 4 Jonin stood in front of their teams at the openings into the maze and explained what was happening. We have brought all of you here to go through this, Kakashi explained as he nodded to the stones behind him. It's known as the maze, and it is made of a stone that disrupts chakra inside of it. We often use this in our prisons, as you know. So we just have to go through it? Sasuke asked. That's the gist of it. Kakashi nodded. YOSH. I will complete this maze with ease, or I will run 100 laps around Konoha on my hands. Lee exclaimed. Lee, Guy shouted, startling his student. If you should fail, I will run 200 laps. Guy-sensei. Lee, enough. Kunai shouted, stopping the horrendous genjutsu before it could start. This seems like there should be more to it. Naruko noted. Troublesome. Shikamaru nodded in agreement. There is. Asuma stated. This mist is a very mild hallucinogen. It will cause you to have some delusions while inside, and face some harsh truths about yourselves. This is what makes it so difficult. You are to go through the maze and make your way out. I won't lie to you that this is dangerous and you could possibly die if you fail. If you don't want to take it, you can stay with the Jonin and wait for the others to finish. There was silence among the genin as they all thought about what this maze represented, and finally they all moved towards the entrance. Good luck, Kakashi said as he watched them enter, and he nodded for the Jonin to move to the other side of the valley and wait for the genin to emerge. It didn't take long for the group to become separated, as the mist was so thick that they could barely see each other. As they slowly dispersed, they were soon each on their own, and each of them would soon start to face the illusions. Sasuke walked slowly, keeping a hand on the stone wall as he did and making sure to not get turned around as he walked. His slow pace allowed him to think more about the words that Yami had said to him and to think about the balance that he had suggested he gained from this dark power. As he reached the end of another passage, he turned to the right and found that mist was cleared here and Yami was standing there waiting for him. Sasuke, he chuckled as he faced the teen. Yami, what are you doing here? Or is this a delusion? Sasuke asked. I'm real. But then again, how would you know the difference? Yami chuckled some more. But we aren't here about me. What do you mean? We are here about you, Yami stated as he walked towards Sasuke. I understand that you have been trying to learn to harness the power of the cursed seal. Tell me, have you started to feel its limits yet? I have. Sasuke sighed as he remembered hitting the wall with the dark chakra. That's because it hasn't fully awakened yet, Yami remarked as he walked slowly around the Uchiha. You see, that cursed seal is only in its first stage. There is another stage that can be achieved. How? Sasuke shouted as he turned to look at Yami, who only smirked as he met his gaze. Orochimaru's minions will come for you soon. Once they are certain that they can properly spirit you away into a Togakure and be turned into Orochimaru's next body. Next body? Sasuke exclaimed. Oh yes. Orochimaru, in his desire to learn all ninjutsu, has created a jutsu that allows him to place his soul inside another's body and then take control of it. However, the price is that he must switch bodies every 3 years in order to remain alive, and the 3-year mark is approaching. The beauty of this little scheme of his is that if he manages to get your Sharingan under his control, then he will carry it over to the next body when that 3 years are up. Or so he thinks, Yami explained as he continued to circle the raven-haired teen. So what should I do? Sasuke asked. Do you still desire to kill your brother? Yami asked. More than anything, Sasuke roared. Then allow them to take you. They will trigger the transformation for you, and before they get you all the way to Oto, escape. You will be free of both Oto and Konoha. Escape and I will find you. I will teach you all I can and turn you into the most powerful Uchiha since Madara himself. And then I will take you to Itachi and you can slay him. Yami chuckled as he stopped in front of Sasuke again. The choice though is yours. But ask yourself, do you want to keep playing shinobi in Konoha, become a replacement for Orochimaru, or get the revenge that neither can give you? With that the mist came around the corner and covered the dark-eyed youth, and when Sasuke ran forward Yami was gone, but his words had already made their mark on him. Neji huffed angrily as he hit another dead end. He was getting more and more infuriated as he kept getting lost in this maze and knew that no matter what he tried his Byakugan wouldn't help him. Turned back to the last intersection, he went the other way, and as he walked he heard a voice chuckle from behind him. Turning he saw the mist had dissipated and Yami was standing there staring at him with an amused smirk. Ah, how the mighty have fallen. Yami chuckled. When I last saw you, you were all high and mighty, believing yourself so much greater than the rest of your clan. Shut up, Neji hissed. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Hinata grew stronger than you and you hate it, Yami remarked. While I admit that if I had been given another week or two I might have been able to get her to beat you without the little trick we pulled. What are you saying? Neji shouted. You are simply an illusion. Am I? Yami asked with a laugh. That is up to you to think. I am simply here to talk. Neji took a moment to take a deep breath and then spoke. What do you mean trick? That is the question. Yami stated. You see, I didn't have enough time to groom Hinata up to the level I needed her to be at to beat you, but I couldn't have you breaking her so quickly. You see, I needed her to grow in confidence and build your rage more before I approached you. You see, Hinata was given a pill to be taken before the match. I told her that it would help her relax, but in truth it was meant to numb her sense of pain. This is what let her best you after you hit her with your Hakuryuan show 8 trigrams 64 palms. She should have been defeated right there, but after the medicine that I gave her she could stand and continue to fight without chakra. Why? Neji roared as he tried to attack Yami, who only flipped over him. Why do any of this? I did this for many different reasons, but as I said, I needed your rage to grow in order to see if you could become useful to me in my plans. Hinata has proven her worth and in the right conditions will make an excellent tool. You are still in question. What do you plan on doing? Neji hissed as he faced him. Change the world. Yami chuckled as he kept eye contact. It has already begun and the question is, will you help me build it or be another sacrifice to it? What do you want? I want you to continue to train and grow stronger. You have great potential and I want you to expand upon it. I want you to also make peace with Hinata. Not the main house, just Hinata. She can be one of your greatest allies in gaining the branch house the dominance it so rightly deserves. She finds that seal upon your brow just as abhorrent as you and any other branch member does. When the time comes the slaves will become the masters and the new Hyuga clan will be a great asset to me as I usher in a new age. Yami grinned. You're mad, Neji stated. Only if I fail. Yami shrugged. If I succeed I am a visionary. Neji stared at Yami before he saw the mist encroaching on them again, and with a quiet laugh Yami disappeared within it as Neji contemplated what he had said to him. Hinata stopped at another intersection and glanced around, trying to figure out which way she would have to go when she heard whistling behind her and turned to see Yami standing there. You want to go left, he stated as he walked towards her. How do you know? Aren't you just an illusion? Perhaps. Does it matter? Yami asked as they walked. I suppose not, Hinata replied. I have followed your advice. I have pushed myself to become stronger and gain that fighting style we discussed. Good. It will serve you well in the trials ahead. What trials? Hinata asked. Neji will soon approach you about what occurred in the Chunin exams. About your lack of pain, Yami stated. What was that pill you gave me? You said it would relax me, Hinata remarked. It numbed my sense of pain. It did. You were not ready to beat Neji yet, but you had the makings of it. I simply gave you the edge needed to prove it. I know that if you faced him now you would win. Yami replied. That is unimportant at this time though. Neji will approach you and I want you to help him. Do what? Shift the balance of power in the Hyuga clan. It is unfair that branch family has become slaves to the main. In time you will help him reverse the situation. No, I will not continue that cycle of hatred, Hinata exclaimed. I never said it would continue, did I? Yami remarked. In the end you and Neji will have to work out the details, but I recommend that you only enslave the current members of the main family, and any children that they bear will be free and given to the branch family to be raised, thus eliminating the cycle of hatred and punishing those that continued it. Hinata frowned at this and realized that while not a perfect solution, that it could have the means to end this slavery within her own family. Is that all you wanted to tell me? Hinata asked. No, a day will come when I will ask you to do something that may go against every notion of right and wrong you have. I will need you to do this. Why? Hinata asked with a frown. For world peace. Yami stated. I am in the midst of creating a new and better world, but in order to do that I need talented people by my side, people that will help me bring about this new age. What I will ask of you will prove your dedication and help bring the Hyuga clan into the light of this new age. And I can't or won't do it? Hinata asked. Then you will be a sacrifice to the new world. Yami stated as he looked her in the eye. I will not lie to you. There will be sacrifices, there will be lives lost, but in the end it will be for the greater good of a world without war, without hatred, where all will stand together and all will be equal. Hinata frowned at his words but couldn't deny that he seemed to legitimately believe what he was saying. I hope you understand if I take all of this with a grain of salt, Hinata remarked. Hinata, I would be shocked if you had agreed right away. Yami chuckled. I want you to consider what I am saying, and make this decision with all the facts. If you are to be one of my lieutenants, I need you to use your head. Hinata nodded as Yami stopped walking and the mist overtook him and he disappeared before she could say anything else. With a frown, Hinata continued walking and thinking about what he had said. Naruko stopped as she gazed up at the sky, wondering how long she would have to keep walking before she made it out or ran into somebody else. Lost, a voice said from her right, and she turned to see Yami standing there. You! Naruko shouted as she threw a handful of kunai at him. Before any of them could touch him, Naruto appeared from a side passage and blocked them with his drawn katana. That wasn't nice, sis. Naruto chuckled as he and Yami walked towards her. We only want to talk. Okay, you guys are illusions. Naruko sighed as she glared at them. Doesn't mean that I have to like you guys. No. Yami nodded in agreement as they stared at her. Tell me, child of prophecy, how does it feel to know that you are inferior to two different people your own age? I am not, Naruko shouted. Then explain why he kicked us and I fought you to a standstill with while still holding back? Naruto asked with a grin. I lost to him because I was too cocky and underestimated him, and Jiraiya stopped us before we could finish. Excuses, excuses. Yami chuckled as he looked at the other blonde. All bark and no bite. Tell me about it. Always talking a big game, but in the end you are nothing. You aren't anything more than a filthy demon. Naruto laughed as Naruko glared at him. I am not, Naruko shouted. Really? Yami asked. Even with the power of a demon on your side you failed to stop us from besting you. Maybe one of us is the real child of prophecy and our destiny is to kill you to save the world. Makes sense. Naruto agreed. I mean, slaying a demon would definitely make us heroes. I'm not a demon. You are too. Naruto laughed. Before Naruko could do anything else, all she could hear were all the people she knew calling her a demon, and as she looked around all she could see were their faces twisted in rage, calling her a monster and a demon, saying how she should be killed. Stop it! Naruko screamed as she started to run, but the voices wouldn't leave her alone as she ran, continuing their insistent whisperings. It wasn't long before she ran out of the maze and Kakashi was waiting for her, having heard her screams growing closer. Naruko! Kakashi exclaimed as he stopped the girl from running any further. I'm not a monster, she screamed as Kakashi stopped her from running any further and just held the girl as she started to cry, bawling her eyes out as she continued to say she wasn't a monster. Kakashi just stood there, soothing the girl as he saw the other Jonin arriving to see if she was alright. It's okay, Naruko, Kakashi said as he patted her head. You aren't a monster. We all know that. He's right. Kurenai nodded as the girl looked at them and nodded, but she still had tears falling from her eyes. Several hours later all of the genin had made it out of the maze, all of them a little shook up or lost in their own thoughts as the Jonin let them all rest, agreeing that they would leave tomorrow. After the four teams had left, Naruto stood upon the rise as Yagura and Kin appeared behind him. You did good work, you too. Naruto nodded. Thank you. Kin smiled. Thanks. Yagura sniffed. But making a mist like that is easy enough. And those illusions were simple once I knew where they were. Kin agreed. You're all just lucky that I managed to test out those chakra seals I gave you. Otherwise you would have been as powerless as those genin were. Naruto remarked. Sir, if I may ask, what was the point of this? Yagura asked. A valid question. Naruto chuckled. This was sowing the seeds of dissension amongst my enemies, turning the Hyuga upon itself, breaking Naruko even further. convincing Sasuke to leave the village. If everything plays out like I expect, then Konoha is going to be in for a hard few years. The two simply nodded at this as they followed their master back to the base he had nearby, awaiting the next step in his master plan. Ripples. Naruto smiled as he read over the last of the reports that his slaves had been sending him. Almost everything was in place and all he needed was to wait for Orochimaru to make his move on Sasuke and he could really begin the finishing touches on his plan. As he stood up, he motioned for Kin and Yagura to follow him as he spoke. I have work for both of you to complete. He began. I am going to be sending you out on a solo mission to gather information on 2 potential new recruits while I go and check on the status of my new kingdom. Who are these recruits? Yagura asked with a frown hidden by his mask. 2 Jinchuruki. Kin, I am sending you to Takegakure to investigate the treatment of their Jinchuruki Fu and see if she might be converted to our cause. Kim, your mission will be to sneak into Iwagakure and observe the container of the Gobi. Do not bother with Rashi, the container of the Yonbi. Due to his age he will not be easily persuaded and he is incredibly loyal to the Tsuchikage, whereas Han is more likely to defect and join us. Observe them and once you are certain of your decisions report back to me. If they are not suitable candidates then we will leave them for the Akatsuki to deal with. Otherwise I will go and recruit them myself. Understood? Yes, master. The 2 nodded. Good. Now go. Naruto stated as the pair left, heading for their respective destinations. Naruto only nodded as he walked away and made his own arrangements to get to Azuno Kuni and check the progress of the seat of his empire. In Konoha, a meeting between Hinata and Neji was occurring. The 2 of them had gone to a private training ground on the pretense of practicing while in truth Neji was learning if what Yami had told him in the maze was true. Were you given something to numb your pain? He asked. Unknowingly I was. Hinata admitted. Yami said it was for my nerves. Then perhaps it wasn't an illusion. Neji muttered. You saw Yami as well? Hinata asked in shock. The older Hyuga nodded his assent at this and Hinata frowned in thought. He told me to try and make peace between us but I do not see how that would be possible. Neji admitted. We share a common goal, to remove the cursed seal from the branch family. Hinata reminded him, and I do have a few ideas as to how. Is that so? Neji asked, clearly intrigued by this. Let's hear them. I plan on studying the seal that they use in greater detail and see how it is that it is deactivated and what elements are added to it compared to the older ones that were originally used by the Hyuga to prevent the Byakugan from being stolen. Hinata began. And once I have learned these elements I will start by removing your own seal and then we will begin researching new ways to protect our family while punishing those that would only further this hatred. Punishing them how? Neji asked with a frown. By making them live the lives that they were forcing their own clansmen to live. Hinata replied coldly. We will place them under the cursed seal, a modified one that cannot be removed, and we will make them the slaves for the rest of their lives. What of when they have children? We will take them to parents from the former branch family and they will raise them. From there we will let this cursed tradition die with our parents. Hinata explained. By the time we are old and ready to die, the Hyuga clan will no longer have a branch family and a main family. It will be a single whole with the clan head being passed down from parent to child as we have done it. It is a good idea, Neji said after a few minutes of thought. However, we will need to discuss policy much more and make sure that any of the old writing containing the seal are destroyed once we have taken over. Agreed. Hinata nodded. It will take time, but if everything goes as we think it will, then we might have a chance. I will speak with my teammate Tenten once we really get started into the seals. She knows a great deal about them, and actually Guy Sensei is talking about having Hokage-sama train her in Finjutsu to expand her abilities even further. Neji offered. She'd have to be sworn to secrecy and understand what would happen if anyone found out what we are up to. Hinata warned. I trust her. Very well then. Once we are beginning the sealing works we will bring her in and see what she can offer us. Hinata agreed. Neji nodded in turn and the two began discussing possible alterations that would need to be made to the seals. It had taken less than a week for Kin to make her way into Takegakure, slipping in using the special invisibility jutsu that Naruto had her learn. Granted, it didn't really turn her invisible, it simply used a genjutsu to make it seem as though she wasn't really there by making the mind not register her presence. At the moment she was crouched on top of one of the buildings near the lake where she saw the mint-haired girl training, working on her hand-to-hand abilities while also apparently trying to vent some frustration she was feeling. There's the monster, one of the villagers remarked as they walked past. Someone ought to put her back in her cage. The other laughed. I'm not a monster, Fu shouted in rage, causing the two men to jump before laughing at her and walking off, knowing that she wouldn't do anything to hurt them. I'm amazed you put up with that, Kin said, deciding to play on a hunch that was forming in her mind. "Who are you?" Fu asked as Kin dropped the jutsu and was standing at the water's edge. "Just a traveler getting some rest here." Kin replied calmly, "But I am impressed that you didn't attack them. HMPH. I hate them, all people. But I would be in big trouble and probably executed if I attacked them." Fu replied, "Why not leave then? And where would I go, you dumb bitch?" Fu sneered, "This is the only home that I've ever known and they would hunt me down rather than lose their precious weapon." "It doesn't have to be that way," Kin stated. "What if I were to tell you that I could get you into contact with a person who understands your pain better than almost anyone on the planet? What if I were to say that this man would help you escape from this village, treat you with the respect that you deserve and help you get revenge on this place for what they do to you? I'd say that there's some ulterior motive and I want nothing to do with it. It's your choice in the end. But let me ask you this. Do you know about the recent turnaround in Nami no Kuni?" "Yeah. Everyone does. Some guy took over. Now the country is doing booming business with that bridge finished and the industrialist gone. The man I represent is the new daimyo. He liberated Nami no Kuni and is currently looking for strong capable people to join him." Kin stated he doesn't care for past bonds or what nation you are from. If you are strong and want a fresh start, he will give it to you. You'll have to work, but in the end you will be treated far better than you are here. Fu's eyes narrowed at this information, and before she could say anything she saw Kin start to disappear. "If you decide that you really want to join him, all you have to do is wait a few more weeks and he will approach you himself. He will make you the offer that will decide the rest of your life." With those final words Kin was gone from sight and Fu was now deep in thought over what was said. Keeping those thoughts in her mind, she resumed her practice and mulled over what her options would be and what this mysterious person could possibly want with her. Han stormed through the village, ignoring the angry glares as he normally did. He detested these villagers, these shinobi and their old fool of a leader. He hated this place but knew that he couldn't leave since he had nowhere else to go, and knew that even with his great powers he would be killed by the number of shinobi that Onoki would send after him, especially if he sent Rashi to kill him. Stopping outside of the village gates, he contemplated going up into the mountains to train some more, maybe work off some of his frustration. "Not much fun, is it?" a voice said from his left. Turning, the armored Nin saw a black cloaked figure standing there, clearly a younger person not much older than the average genin. "Who the hell are you?" he snapped. "Came," he replied calmly. "I've been in the village for a few days now and I have seen what these scum are like." Han frowned now, knowing that Onoki was usually very careful of who went into the village, and if this kid had done so he might have a way out for him. "How did you avoid the Tsukage's men?" he asked with a frown. "This mask was created by a master of Finjutsu. It is capable of masking my presence unless I wish to be seen." "Where do I get one like that?" Han asked, a grin hidden under his armor as plans began to unfold. "You would need to enter the employ of my master." Master? He is the daimyo of Nami no Kuni, and sent me here to speak with you actually," was the reply. "Why? Does this new daimyo want a living weapon?" he snorted. "No, he wants talented shinobi that will serve as his lieutenants in the coming war." "What war?" "The final one. The one that will reshape the entire world." Kim replied. "He is massing his forces, preparing his generals and seeking the best of the best to serve him in this venture. You have been chosen to have the chance to join us, though this choice is yours alone to make." Now Han was frowning at this. This daimyo sounded like a madman, like some kind of power-hungry fool. But something about the way that this kid was talking made him hesitate to flat out turn him down. "There's more than you're telling me, isn't there?" he stated with a frown. "There always is." Kim chuckled. "It is not my place to tell you what my master has left out." "Then why approach me now?" he asked. "To let you know that while you may despise this place with every fiber of your being, there is an escape if you are willing to take it. My master will come before you eventually, and make you his offer. The choice to accept it is yours, but in the end I know that you will come with him, that you will seek the escape of this place and have your chance at vengeance." Kim explained as he turned and started to leave. "Think on the matter, and when the time is right you will know." "Good day, Han." Before the armored shinobi could do anything else, the kid disappeared in a splash of water and Han was left with the mystery of who this new daimyo of Nami no Kuni was and why he was so intent on being ready for a war that not even the cages were preparing for. Muttering to himself, he turned back toward the village and headed towards their ANBU headquarters, intent on learning everything that he could about his man before he approached him. In the land of his ancestors, Naruto walked amongst his thralls as they labored on his capital. The outlying areas were all easily fixed and they had focused on this place first. The castle was being rebuilt from scratch as it had been destroyed by the combined Bijuyama of 3 Biju, and there was little left that could be used. Black stone had been mined and shipped from overseas to build this massive fortress, while the city surrounding the village was being built from the local mines that were now reopened and being used to make sure that there would be no rampant fires as there were last time. As you can see, my lord, the village is designed in a rising terrace style built into the mountain face. This will allow you to place archers or other long-range fighters on the roofs of building above the areas where your enemies might be attacking from. The project manager explained as he showed him the city from the bluff where they were now standing. The ledges are far enough apart and curved in such a way that shinobi trying to leap across the gaps to the next level will slip and fall or stumble as they reach the cubed spot, allowing your forces to dispatch them with ease. Very good. But what about the streets? Naruto asked. Specially designed channels in the stones allow for you to use various fire ninjutsu to heat them to the point that they will burn through most sandals that shinobi tend to wear. The man explained, and in the everyday life this will allow rainwater to wash down and out of the city. Well planned. Naruto nodded. Thank you, my lord. However, that is not all that we are doing. The most ingenious part, and one that we have tested on many smaller scale models, is rotating levels of the city. You will be able, with the use of those with a strong earth affinity, to move the layers of the city around, blocking off intersections where an invading force may be trying to get to your citadel, or allow your own men to quickly strike at an enemy unprepared as they suddenly are being flanked from a street that wasn't opened before. There is a pattern that we will show you, and you may memorize it and teach it to those that will need it. I recommend a minimum of 5 shinobi with a moderate talent with Doton to be doing this, though the same amount of a higher caliber will be able to speed up the process significantly. Very good. Naruto smiled as he imagined the chaos an invading force would be put through with this kind of trap. Now what of the palace? Made entirely of the finest materials, with the underlying structure enforced by the seals of your own design to negate any long-range ninjutsu aimed at the palace. The man started from there. We have set up more than 24 secret passages that you will be made fully aware of, and with another dozen that only your chakra will be able to access, with the special metal plates that you unearthed for us from the ruins of the shinobi village. There are more than 100 guest rooms, 3 different barracks located in different parts of the palace to allow for speedy reaction time should an intruder manage to slip in. A large dungeon that has been tailored to your specific requests and has a special passage leading to your personal quarters with one of those metal plates at both ends. The banquet hall is capable of holding more than 1,000 guests with ease, and the kitchens are large enough to handle such numbers. As you can see from the designs, there are a number of towers that overlook surrounding areas and will have large war horns installed to alert you of coming attacks long before they even reach the outer walls surrounding the city. And how is the wall coming? Naruto asked as he turned his gaze towards the edge of the city. We are mining the stone that negates chakra as you requested and are placing the first blocks underground as you ordered. The seals that you have given us are being placed onto each block, and the wall would create a large half circle, encompassing the entire city. Every 5 meters there will be a guard post as you ordered, and with enough room to hold 5 guards each. Once the final levels have been reached, we will finish placing the last seals that will create the barrier that will defend the hold of the city from any airborne attack. The only way to attack the city will be through the gates, reinforced steel with the same seals that are on the stone blocks being placed upon them. Excellent. How long until completion on each area? The palace will take another 9 months to have all the supplies here, and even as we work with the supplies that we are getting, it will likely take an additional 2 months to finish everything. The city will be finished within the next 6 months, and we will begin bringing more laborers in to hopefully speed the process up. The wall will take 9 months to complete. There is no way around that, my lord. And add in another few months to ensure that I am fully garrisoned. It seems as though I have a year before my capital is finished. Naruto mused. Very well. Do not cut any corners on this matter. Take as long as it takes to do this right. I will not have this place being destroyed a second time. Of course, my lord. All will be completed to best of our abilities. The man nodded as Naruto turned and left, walking towards the road that would take him back to the harbor. As he entered the tree line and was out of sight of the laborers, he sensed the presence rising up out of the ground. Naruto, Zetsu said as the blonde turned and saw the plant-like man standing there. Zetsu-sensei, to what do I owe the pleasure? Our master wants a word with you. Now, the black half said, clearly not too pleased with what was going on. Fine. Naruto nodded as Zetsu grabbed him and pulled him into the earth. This was excruciatingly painful to the blonde, who had not expected to be treated like this and knew that he would be thankful for the healing rate when they emerged. Dropping him onto the ground of a stone cavern, Naruto vomited blood as he knelt on the ground and felt his body repairing itself. Zetsu-sensei, If you decide to do that again I will kill you," Naruto said as his stomach calmed down and he stood up glaring at the man. "There is no need for that," a voice said from a chair at the end of the room. Turning, Naruto saw a man. His eyes were closed, likely blind, Naruto mused, and his hair had gone completely white. Above him was a familiar symbol and Naruto's eyes widened as he realized who this was. Madara Uchiha. Naruto whistled. "Still alive after all these years?" "Indeed, young man," Madara rasped. "Though you have thrown the plans that I have spent years working on into the fire, I would apologize but I'm not sorry," Naruto stated calmly. "So I gathered, which is the only reason that you are still alive." Madara chuckled, getting a raised eyebrow from the blonde. "You see, I respect power and that is something that you have in abundance. However, what you do not have is the understanding of the world that I do." "Then enlighten me." Naruto grinned. "This plan of yours, this enslavement of the world that you intend to do, it will only delay the inevitable. You will eventually die, and when you do the world will slip back into the ways that it has since the days of the Rakuto Sennin. My plan will end this farce that we call reality. It will set free all these lost souls and in the end it will bring a true and lasting peace to the world." Madara explained. "You have killed my agent, the man who would have set the stage for my revival. But that is something we can work past. You are far stronger than Obito was, far stronger than anyone that is still young and capable. Help me accomplish this plan. Take up the mantle of Madara Uchiha and help save this world." Naruto listened silently as the man talked, and after a few moments Naruto started to laugh. The sound drew a frown on the older shinobi's face and Naruto soon spoke once his mirth had faded. "The infinite Tsukiyomi, a fool's ambition," Naruto stated as he saw Madara stiffen. "That plan will only end all life on this planet, bringing the peace of the dead. No, I may detest most of what this world is and seek to alter the very nature of it though my power, but I do not deny the power of human potential. Your plan requires the sacrifice of 9 lives, and 9 demons before you kill the whole world. Nagato's plan requires those same 18 souls before he threatens the world with them and cows them into submission until his passing, and then it all starts back up again. My plan requires thousands to die now, so billions may live later. I do not deny that of the plans mine is likely the most costly in the short term, but in the long term, well, let's just say that I know my mortality will be my end, but that does not mean that I have forgotten the true meaning of life. So my plan is not a guarantee. That just means that I will need to ensure that my successor is of the same mind I am. I will need to ensure that they will carry this empire that I am building and let it continue to thrive. Perhaps one day the world will fall back into old habits. Perhaps one day things will return to this point in time again. But until that day comes I will not stop my plans. I will ensure that my empire rises and unites the world under my command. Under my rule will these lands know peace, and under my authority will the people of these lands bow and praise me for delivering them from their foolishness. They may be forced to bow to me, but in the end they are free to live as they choose. That is more than we can say for you plan, you ancient relic." "Then it seems words cannot sway this matter any further." Madara sighed as he nodded for Zetsu to kill him. Naruto however had expected this and simply phased through the attack that the plant being had tried to execute on him. "Please Madara, I had Tobi trying to assassination attempts on me when I was 12. Naruto laughed. "Or did you say his name was Obito?" "That was the name of one of my father's late students." "So that is what became of him. How ironic." Zetsu turned and glared at the blonde. "Do not bother, Zetsu-sensei. I have no ill will towards you or your master. This is simply a race, as I said to you before. The only problem is this though. You are competing against an opponent that is not following the same objectives as you. So how will you stop me short of killing me?" "Zetsu." "Enough." Madara sighed, already realizing that the boy had been prepared for this confrontation. "Thank you Madara. I will be leaving now and wish you the best of luck, because if you want to try and stop me you are going to need every scrap of it that you can get." Naruto laughed as he pulled himself into the Kamui dimension and from there into his hideout in Hinokuni, a grin on his face as he went to his desk to jot down a few notes on this new development and begin the slight alterations that would be needed to his plans for the now identified third player. Recruitment. It was late in the evening when it finally happened. Sasuke had been up late, working on his control of the cursed seal when 4 figures had appeared. Each was different in appearance, with the only similarities being their clothing. "You're late," Sasuke stated as he stopped channeling chakra and looked at them. "I was expecting you days ago." "Expecting us?" the largest of them asked in confusion. "Did I stutter?" Sasuke sneered, earning a bark of laughter from the girl. "So you know that Orochimaru-sama can give you the power you need to kill your brother?" The silver-haired youth with what looked like a second head growing up from the back of his neck noted. "I do. I also know that there is no way that this is the limit of the cursed seal. I can feel more of the power that is there, but it is out of my reach." Sasuke added, "If I want the power to kill Itachi, I need to know how to unleash the second level." The 4 traded looks and just smiled before the silver-haired boy spoke. "You will be leaving this village for good. Are you prepared?" "I already told you I've been expecting you for days now. I've been ready to leave for a while now." Sasuke shrugged as he walked towards his home. "Let me grab my bag and we will." The 4 nodded and followed the Uchiha back to his home and were soon out of the village, heading north towards the border. Dosu only smirked from the shadows as he saw this, and once he was certain that they weren't going to be pulling a clever trick to divert trackers, he activated the seal that Naruto had sent to him to alert the blonde that Sasuke was in transit. It was dawn when Naruto, Kin and Yagura were on the trail of the 4 Otogakure shinobi and observed as they had him begin the transformation for the second level of the cursed seal. "Kin, do you know any of them?" Naruto asked. "All of them technically," Kin replied. "They are Orochimaru's personal guard. They were the ones that made the barrier that was used against the Hokage and his wife." "Names and abilities," Naruto stated. "The large one is Jirobo. He would be the weakest of them in regards of the cursed seal, but he is physically the strongest of them. His real talent is using a jutsu to trap his opponents and drain them of their chakra until they are dead while increasing his own reserves. The one with the extra arms is Kidomaru, and he enjoys toying with his opponents by making a game out of it. He uses his chakra to make something similar to webs, and his extra arms give him a lot more versatility than your average shinobi, as well as having the spider summoning contract." The girl is Tayuya, relies a lot on genjutsu that uses sound to activate, and has a doki summoning contract. She has quite a mouth on her, and I think she may actually be an Uzumaki given her red hair and the mass amount of stamina and chakra she has, though the chakra was stunted due to the cursed seal reliance. The last one, or 2 I should say, is Seikon and Ukon. Seikon is the dominant one, though Ukon can come into play at any time. They're twins if the rumors are correct, and Orochimaru experimented on them to the point where they have to share the same body in order to survive. What makes them so dangerous is the fact that they can integrate themselves into any person's body and destroy them from the inside out. Seikon and Ukon are the leaders of the Sound 4. Nothing too challenging. Any potential in them? Jirobo is too weak. He has hit his peak and won't get any stronger. Overall, without the cursed seal he is roughly mid-Chunin, and with it at the second stage he might just reach low Jonin. Kidomaru is too likely to try and trick you, and overall I'd say he is only a little stronger than Jirobo. Tayuya has some potential, and given the fact she might be related to you somewhat distantly, she might be persuaded to join you. I'd put her at a high Chunin level without the seal and with about mid-Jonin. Seikon and Ukon enjoy their power and are loyal to Orochimaru, no questions asked. They wouldn't join you, period. He is definitely a high Chunin without his abilities, and with them he can be a mid-Jonin as well, possibly higher if he has learned any long-range skills while I've been gone. Kin explained. "I'm surprised you know all of this," Yagura noted with slight suspicion. "Orochimaru doesn't care much about our social interactions, so information spreads amongst his forces really fast. They never kept their abilities secret, and because of that almost everyone knows what they can do to a rough extent, though knowing what's coming and stopping it are 2 very different things." Kin noted. An apt observation, Naruto noted. "So only one of them might be convinced. I will need to have a word with Tayuya before the pursuit team has a chance to kill her." "Pursuit team?" Kin asked with worry. By now Konoha has noticed the Sasuke is gone, and a team will be on their trail before 20 minutes have passed. I give it till 10 before they catch up to them, and then we wait. If this plays out like I think it will, they will help delay Sasuke from being taken to Orochimaru before the metamorphosis is complete. Naruto replied. "In fact, I am counting on it. Otherwise we get involved and kill all of them. No questions asked and no hesitation." "What about the pursuit team?" Yagura asked. "If it comes down to it, kill them. I'd rather avoid it since it would cause Konoha to retaliate." Naruto chided. "We are not ready for a full-scale conflict with any of the great shinobi nations, and until we have bolstered our forces we are going to be laying low. Keep an eye on them, and for the pursuit team, We run a parallel path to theirs and only move in if they get close to the border or if the Konoha team is about to recover Sasuke. Understood. The pair nodded as they moved through the tree line, staying out of sight but relying on Naruto's heightened senses to keep track of their target. True to his prediction, the Konoha team had been sent consisting of Shikamaru Nara, Kiba Inuzuka, Choji Akamaki, Neji Hyuga and Naruko Uzumaki. They had been ordered to recover Sasuke and deal with any resistance. This is an A-rank mission, and while normally I would send a Jonin team on this mission, we have word that Kuza might be planning to start a small border war and I need my Jonin ready to respond. Minato explained to the 5 shinobi before him, it's why I am sending you. Shikamaru, you are in charge of this mission and have orders to use deadly force against the enemy if necessary. What if Sasuke doesn't want to come back? Neji asked with a frown. Force him. We can't afford to lose the Sharingan to an enemy village. Cripple him if you must, but bring him back alive. Understood. Shikamaru nodded as he looked at the other Genin. Let's move out. This earned nods from the group and they were soon on their way out of the village and hot on the trail of Sasuke in the Sound 4. Naruto paused. His eyes focused ahead when he had them stop and his brow furrowed in thought. The wind was coming behind them and he picked up a scent, maybe a half-hour away. As his mind focused, he noted who the smell would belong to. Konoha pursuit team is closing in. They have an Inuzuka with them, Kiba if I'm not mistaken, along with the 4 other rookies including my sister. Naruto grinned. This should be rather interesting. How so? Yagura asked. These rookies have potential to be great if the world stays the way it is now, and even if my empire rises they will still be great. Whether as allies or enemies they will be the ones recorded in history. They are up against a superior force that has had the time to lay traps behind them as they go, and have no knowledge of our presence. Yet I bet you anything that they know all this and have already formulated a plan to counter it. This will be an interesting day. Move toward the tree line. I want to see what happens firsthand. Soon they reached the clearing where the Sound 4 were resting after carrying the coffin that they were using to carry Sasuke. Just a few minutes before the Konoha shinobi reached the clearing and fell right into Kidomaru's trap, and Neji and Shikamaru were pulled into the clearing by the web while the rest were forced there to avoid the explosive tags that had been left there. It didn't take long before Jirobo trapped them in his earth dome to drain them of their chakra and kill them. Game over for them. Kin sighed. That was pathetic. Perhaps. But there was a Nara and an Akamaki inside the dome. They will bust out and finish him before continuing the mission. Naruto reminded her underestimating Konoha is what gets you killed. Remember that. Yes sir, Kin said, looking slightly ashamed as they started to move. Are you not going to watch? No. I know that they will break out and that's all that matters. I intend to keep an eye on that coffin and grab Sasuke as soon as he breaks out. All he needs to do is awaken and we step in and stop the charade, Naruto stated as they quickly moved far enough away to not be spotted but still keep track of where the remaining members of the Sound 4 were going. Almost 10 minutes later, Naruto picked up the scent of the now 4 members of the pursuit team and watched as one of them, disguised as Jirobo, was about to try and take the coffin. With interest, the 3 observed the act and noticed right away that the deception was seen through and that the Oto shinobi were about to attack. This time it was Kidomaru who attacked and managed to hold off the 4 shinobi quite well. Keep moving? Yagura asked with a frown. Yes, we are getting close to the border now, and we can't afford to screw this up now just for some entertainment. Naruto nodded as they quickly left. Just as Neji took the fight to Kidomaru and the 3 remaining Konoha shinobi moved in. This is where things get tricky. Now they won't go for stealth, which means they will go for a full assault. Konoha outnumbers them still, so all they have to do is get the coffin and leave 2 people behind to deal with them. When this happens we strike. The pair nodded as they kept pace with the 3 remaining Konoha shinobi and watched in fascination as they struck, and Kiba and Akamaru took Seikon and Dukan down a ravine and the 5th Oto shinobi appeared and grabbed the coffin. Who the hell is that? Naruto hissed, glaring at Kin. Kimimaro. Kin whispered in fear. He is Orochimaru's 5th member of his personal guard, but he's supposed to be dying. Dying? Yagura asked. Some kind of disease. It got bad just before the Chunin exams, Kin explained. That's why he wasn't there during the invasion. Naruto nodded. I remember seeing him during the meeting I attended. Powerful? Yagura inquired. Very. He has a Kekkei Genkai called Shikatsu. It lets him use his bones as weapons. Yagura finished nodding. I had his clan wiped out after their attempted coup. His full name would be Kimimaro Kaguya. Then pity he's dying. That kind of Kekkei Genkai could be useful. Naruto sighed. He's a fanatic. Kin replied. He believes in Orochimaru more than any of his followers and is willing to die for him if that is what Orochimaru needs him to do. Again, Pity. Naruto sighed. This changes our plans. What shall we do? Yagura asked. Yagura, go and kill Seikon and Dukan. No mercy, and if Kiba and his puppy get in the way, knock them out. Kin, follow Kimimaro and whichever Konoha shinobi fights him. Don't let that coffin out of your sight. I'm going to use this chance to confront and speak with Tayuya, Naruto ordered. Understood. Yagura nodded as he took off towards the ravine and the cave system below it. I won't fight him, sir. He is far beyond my abilities. Kin warned. He is a Jonin, an ability without the curse seal. With it, he could likely take down most shinobi that are below cage level. That's fine. I didn't plan on throwing you away like that. Naruto replied. Observe and follow only. If necessary, activate that emergency seal and I will assist you. Yes sir. She nodded as she began to move higher into the trees to follow Kimimaro and Naruto. Naruto frowned as he watched the fight between Shikamaru and Tayuya and realized that both of them were very smart and capable shinobi. But Shikamaru was doing quite well to stay a step ahead of his opponent despite being overpowered. Once Tayuya started using the first level of the cursed seal, she brought out her doki and had them hunting for Shikamaru using some kind of ethereal appendage that came out of their mouths and devoured the target's chakra when it came into contact with them. While the doki were hunting, Naruto used this as a chance to get close to Tayuya and speak with her. You are quite clever, he began, using the shadows to mask his position. Who the fuck are you? Tayuya asked before she turned and her eyes widened in recognition and horror. You remember me then? Good. Makes this much faster than having to introduce myself again. Naruto chuckled as he made eye contact with her and saw that she was terrified of the person that might be able to defeat Orochimaru in a fair fight. What do you want? Or to better phrase this, I want you to join me. Naruto replied. You have talent and great potential, and it is a pity that it is being destroyed underneath Orochimaru. What the hell are you talking about, you fucking sack of shit? Orochimaru-sama has made me stronger than ever. Has he now? How about a wager? Naruto began. What kind of wager? Tayuya frowned. Simple. If you manage to kill that Konoha shinobi, I will leave you alone and you will never have to see me again. If he manages to stop your doki, however, you will listen to what I have to say and make your choice to join me or not. Not fucking likely he can best my doki. Tayuya scoffed. That little shit is likely scared out of his mind and trying to hide from them. She paused here to play a quick melody on her flute to give them more direction. And for the sake of this retarded fucking argument, what happens if he bests my summon somehow but I still kill him? Then what happens is that I let you live if you turn me down, Naruto stated calmly, because if he manages to best you and you choose not to accompany me, I will kill you myself before he gets the chance to. Fine, you're on, you bastard. Tayuya grinned as she focused her full attention onto Shikamaru, who had started implementing his own plan, and with less than 10 parts to this plan and barely any tools to work with, managed to capture the shadows of all three doki. Naruto blinked at this and realized that Shikamaru was a Nara that hadn't been seen in generations, one whose planning was only rivaled by his father for now, and that in the coming years he would likely surpass Shikaku with ease. It was as Shikamaru had the doki start to attack Tayuya that she dispelled them and began to transform into her second stage and try to kill the young Konoha shinobi through a combination of her genjutsu and sheer force. Shikamaru for his part fought back using the Kage Kyuber Shibari no Jutsu shadow neck binding technique to break two of his fingers to break the illusion and then to wrap around Tayuya's throat and strangle her to death. From the shadows, Naruto whispered just loud enough Tayuya to hear. If you want me to stop him and hear my offer before you die, drop your flute. Otherwise I will just walk away now and let him finish what he has started. Tayuya's eyes widened as she didn't want to die, and she didn't want to be killed by strangulation since it would not be a quick death either. Self-preservation kicked in right then and she dropped her flute, giving Naruto the signal he needed, and struck, hitting Shikamaru in the back of the neck just hard enough to knock out the teen but not enough to kill him. Smirking, Naruto tied wire around Shikamaru and lowered him to the ground before turning and looking at Tayuya, who had returned to her original form. What's your fucking offer? She snapped. Simple. You work for me, agree to serve me, and have a kill seal placed over your heart that will activate if you try to betray me in any way, and I will let you live and train you to become a more powerful shinobi. You have potential as your Uzumaki lineage has shown, but your reliance on that cursed seal is stunting you. Naruto explained. I will help you to become a Jonin in your normal form and to become something close to a Kage in strength with it. To have you surpass Kimimaro as he is now, that's a load of shit. Tayuya scoffed. Kimimaro is too fucking powerful for anyone other than a fucking prodigy to beat. Is that right? Let me let you in on a little secret. Prodigies are all well and good, but I was pure average when I first started. Naruto replied, now I stand on par with the cages and will likely surpass them once I reach my prime. Think on that matter, because I can do the same for you if you agree. If not, then I will kill you now and move on, as I have other matters to attend to. Tayuya frowned at this and ran the options in her head before coming to the same conclusion that had brought her to listening to his offer, really more of an ultimatum, and made her choice. Fine. Place that damn seal on me and get this fucking crap over with. Fine. Remove your shirt and I will do so, Naruto stated as he unsealed the ink set as Tayuya complied, having been desensitized to nudity after all the things that Orochimaru had done to her. Once Naruto finished, he nodded for her to redress and follow him. Let's go. We have work to finish up. Down in the ravine, Kiba and Akamaru had just tried and failed to use their ultimate technique against the two Jonin, and Kiba knew that this was likely the end of the line for him. The pair were moving towards him, and with how exhausted he was and wounded Akamaru was, he knew that he wouldn't be lasting long this time. Suiten. Kami no Kazui Arashi, Storm God's Flood, a voice said from the water as a massive flood rose up and smashed into the two Jonin, sending them flying into one of the stone walls where the water pounded them a few seconds before receding back to the river. Kiba turned to see a black cloaked figure, wearing a black mask with a white turtle design on it, walking closer. Who are you? Kiba asked as he tried to stand up. Came, he replied, my employer sent me here to eliminate those two. Stay out of my way. No way, Kiba growled, those two are mine. You do not have the skills needed to combat them. They rely on close quarters combat, as do you, whereas I am capable of fighting long range and killing them long before they can get close to me. You are no more likely to beat them. The sun is going to rise in the west on the morrow, Kame stated coldly as he shoved Kiba to the ground and took another step towards the two. Who the hell is that? Seikon asked as he stood up. No clue, but he is looking to get killed, Okan snapped as the pair charged towards the masked man, who merely slipped into a fighting stance and struck, sending out two kunai that exploded in a blinding flash of light. Kame used this distraction to flash through more hand signs as the water on the ground rose up and turned into razor-sharp spears that quickly pierced through Okan's head and heart, killing the one twin before he could react, while the other speared through the other's torso, pinning him to the ground. Suiten. Susano no Hasusanu's teeth, Kame stated as he walked towards the last living brother who was screaming his twin's name. Without any prompt or posturing, Kame drew a kunai and embedded the weapon in between Seikon's eyes, killing the brother before he could do anything else. Turning, Kame began to walk up the wall and head back towards the surface. Wait! Kiba shouted as he picked up an injured Akamaru. Who sent you? That is of no concern to you, Kiba and Yuzuka, Kame replied. Tend to your wounded companion. With those last words, Kame left, and Kiba only frowned as he looked at Akamaru and followed the advice and began treating his wounds to the best of his abilities. Naruko was pissed to say the least. At the moment she was trying to fight against this white-haired guy that had grabbed the coffin that they were using to transport Sasuke in, but he was too nimble and managed to avoid everything that she tried while using some bone sword that he had pulled out of his body to deflect her kunai and keep her at arm's length. The pair had been locked in this dance for quite some time, and Naruko knew that it would come down to whomever made the first mistake in this match who would lose. As the pair dueled, Kin observed the fight from the tree line and noted that Kimimaro wasn't going all out and that he was conserving his abilities in a way to likely lengthen his already shortened lifespan. The match was close to even despite Kimimaro's limitation, and Kin knew that if she made her presence known he would step up his efforts and kill them both with the power of his cursed seal. Anything to report? Naruto asked as he appeared next to her, Tayuya right behind him. Kimimaro is holding back, likely to try and preserve what little strength he has left, Kin replied. Naruko isn't holding back too much either, and despite her best efforts she has grasped the dangers of this opponent, especially after his ribs almost stabbed through her leg when she tried to kick him at one point. Anything to add, Tayuya? Naruto asked. Not a fucking thing, she snapped before looking at Kin. I thought you were dead. Naruto-sama saved Dosu and myself, Kin replied calmly. This fucktard? She asked, looking at him. Why save a couple of worthless pawns? Nobody is worthless. Even my thralls serve a purpose, Naruto replied calmly, and all those two needed was the proper guidance and training methods, and they have grown in strength. Kin is now a Chunin level shinobi, as is Dosu, though Dosu is a much better spy than Kin. Is that where that fucking mummy is? Spying for you? Indeed. Naruto nodded. Now the time is close. What time? Tayuya asked with a frown as she looked into the clearing and saw the dark chakra gathering around the coffin. You're here for that bastard Uchiha? I am. I know he will be a useful lieutenant one day. Much better to serve me than Konoha or become Orochimaru's next meat suit. Naruto countered. The problem is Kimimaro. He may be able to best Naruto, but Sasuke's cursed seal is still extremely limited thanks to that containment seal around it, so he won't be able to beat Kimimaro yet. Tayuya. When Sasuke emerges from the coffin, tail him. Odds are he will cross the border to get away from the pursuit team, since I doubt that they have clearance to cross the border. Follow him and inform him that Yami has sent you to collect him. He will come willingly with you. I am going to take care of Kimimaro myself, and then catch up to Sasuke. What if Naruto follows him? Kin asked. Let him fight her. It will be a good test of his new skills and might help his Sharingan develop further. Naruto shrugged as he unsealed his mask and a slashed aim headband. Now get ready. Yes sir. Kin nodded. Whatever fucker. Tayuya snorted. It was only a few minutes later when the coffin exploded and Sasuke emerged, his cursed seal partially activated on his face, giving his Sharingan in one of his eyes an unusual look with the whites now black and the red turned yellow. Sasuke looked at the scene and then turned and started to run, heading for the border as Naruto had thought he would, and Naruto made to follow after him, but Kimimaro wouldn't allow it. With a nod, Naruto flickered from sight and reappeared in the air above Kimimaro, Akaripa drawn swinging down towards Kimimaro, who saw the shadow and flipped away just as he landed. Not wasting a moment, Naruto bounced forward, swinging the blade at Kimimaro, who used his own bone blade to block it. You! He hissed in anger when he saw him. It appears that I will do Orochimaru-sama another great service before I die by killing you as well. You are delusional. Naruto chuckled. Sasuke will never go to Orochimaru and he will die here by my hands. Yami! Naruto exclaimed as she saw the mask and then stiffened when she saw the slashed headband around his neck. You went rogue. That is none of your concern, brat. Naruto replied as he disengaged from Kimimaro and kept his sword ready. I am here to end the life of the last Kaguya. Do not get in my way or I will make what happened at the Chunin exams look like a simple fall down the stairs. Naruto blinked and for a moment considered attacking him before her common sense made itself known and reminded her that she had a job to do. Running off, she chased after Sasuke while Naruto stayed to kill Kimimaro. Why let her go? Kimimaro asked. She will not stop Orochimaru-sama's plan. You seem to be thinking that Sasuke is going to Orochimaru. Naruto laughed as he struck again, his sword hissing through the air as he struck again and again, forcing the young Kaguya back with each strike, shocking Kimimaro with how fast he was and how accurate the strikes were. If he hadn't been trained to be an elite by Orochimaru, then he would likely have been killed in the first few minutes of this battle. Without conscious thought, Kimimaro began drawing on the first stage of his cursed seal and was able to match Naruto's speed but not his power, as each strike seemed to hit like a hammer blow and each one made him take a step or two back. Kimimaro finally spotted a gap in the strikes and with precision managed to move his free hand up and shot the first joint in each of his fingers at the blonde, who didn't even move as they were about to hit him. Fool! Naruto laughed as he phased right through Kimimaro and slashed through his back, shocking the youth. At this action, I am far more powerful now than I ever was before. Removing his mask, he revealed the Sharingan he possessed. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much you try, you can never so much as scratch me. Kimimaro's eyes widened at this and in a wordless howl he transformed into his second stage form and pulled his spine out to try and grab Naruto. But the blonde just passed right through it, and with a sudden thought he moved towards the young Kaguya with a slow deliberate walk as he pulled out a new seal that he had been tinkering with. With a sudden flicker of speed that had him in Kimimaro's zone, he placed the seal on the teen's chest before he could react, his eyes widening as he saw the blonde make a hand sign. Kimimaro's body was racked in agonizing pain and he fell to his knees, screaming in agony as something coursed through his body, through every single cell. The pain eventually stopped, or his nerves stopped sending the feelings of pain. He wasn't sure which when he looked at the blonde who had removed his mask completely so that he could see his face as he grinned at him. What did you do? He asked in anger as he tried to move, but the agony flared up again. An interesting question, and one that is far more complicated than you will really understand. Naruto chuckled. You see, I am something of a pioneer in the Finjutsu area. testing and creating seals that the world has never seen before. One example is my specialized kill seal that triggers based upon thoughts and actions. The current seal I have placed on you is a new seal that I just finished developing. To spare us both the time and tedium it would take to get you to fully grasp what I did, I will just give you the results of the seal. It has gone through your body and purged it of anything that was malignant to your health. Though that is only the first part of this lovely little seal. First part? Naruto nodded as his grin grew. You see, while this seal is incredibly useful for medical purposes with just the first part, it's the second one that makes it so useful to me. The basis of this seal was my own DNA, which means that with my own thoughts I can alter the person who is under this seal during the initial activation, which gives me a window of about 3 minutes to make the designated changes to a person before the seal begins the next phase and makes those changes real. The human body is an incredible thing, seeing as how it has created a vast amount of white blood cells that were supercharged with Uzumaki DNA that allowed your body to destroy that disease that was killing you. But that isn't all that it can do. It can reorganize your body's entire makeup, moving organs to more productive positions and even regrowing parts that are missing. It can even rewrite the human brains as the cells rearrange themselves. Kimimaro's eyes widened in horror as he realized what was about to happen. I see, you realize the true nature of this seal. All memories are stored within the brain, and with the rearrangement I can remove, alter or enhance memories to the point where you will never know that they were changed, or even think that they could have been. Even if a Yamanaka were to enter your mind, they would never notice anything amiss, or that is the theory anyway. You are the first subject for this new seal and I am hoping that it works as I hope it will. If not, then nothing really lost. Now, any last words before your brain is written? Even if I fall, Orochimaru-sama will kill you. Kimimaro roared in anger. So pathetic. Naruto sighed as he shook his head and watched with interest as the seal began its final phase and the brain cells were rearranged and altered, removing his loyalty to Orochimaru and replacing it with undying loyalty to Naruto. He remembered the night his clan tried their uprising and knew that Orochimaru had taken him in and trained him. But he now saw this man as the monster that hadn't let him die with his family. He wanted to kill him now and had joined Naruto to do so. He truly believed in Naruto's plans and believed himself his most loyal of followers, his most trusted general, and would ensure that he was victorious in the creation of his empire. Naruto-sama, how may I serve you? Kimimaro said, bowing his head to his better. Come along, Kimimaro. It is time that we picked up Sasuke and get back to the hideout, Naruto stated as he turned towards the border. Of course, Naruto-sama. Kimimaro nodded, standing up and following his new master to the border. A battle of wills. It wasn't long before Naruto arrived at the edge of the forest where Tayuya and Kin were standing, watching as Sasuke and Naruto stared at each other from across the valley. How long have they been standing there? Naruto asked with a frown. A few moments. Kin answered quickly. I could cast a jutsu that would allow us to hear them. No, I can tell from their postures that Naruto is trying to convince Sasuke to come back and Sasuke is deciding if he should fight her or not. Naruto nodded. I honestly hope he does. It would be an excellent chance to observe his second stage curse seal. Indeed, Naruto-sama. Kimimaro agreed. Each curse seal is different in design and in the form it takes once the second stage is active. He's here? Tayuya hissed in shock. I serve Naruto-sama, Kimimaro stated calmly as the red-haired girl turned her stunned expression to Naruto, who only had a smirk on his face. Down in the valley, Naruto tried to convince Sasuke to come back. He's using you, she pleaded. Orochimaru? I know he is, Sasuke replied, but he can give me what I need to kill Itachi before that. How do you know that for sure? This could be a trap, maybe, but it's a chance that I am willing to take for my vengeance. Is killing Itachi really that important to you? More important than your friends back in the village? Everyone that cares about you? Sasuke stared hard at Naruto before speaking, his words cutting through her like a knife. Would you abandon your hatred of your twin if you were just asked to? Or your hatred for Yami? I don't think so. They are your reason for growing strong, just as killing Itachi is mine. Naruto blinked at the harsh tone he was using and in the end realized that words would not sway her teammate. You realize that I can just let you leave. You realize that you won't be able to stop me, Sasuke replied as he slipped into his own fighting stance. The tension was thick enough that not even a Futenjutsu would be able to cut it as the pair stared at each other and waited for some unknown signal to begin their fight. The moment was upon them in a heartbeat as they struck. Naruto going for a high kick punch combo while Sasuke went for a high block that transitioned into a low disabling strike that would then let him focus on crippling Naruko. The pair were evenly matched and both knew the other too well for this fight to be over quickly as they struck and countered with practiced ease. After a few moments, Naruko seemed to start taking Sasuke seriously as she was started drawing on the Kyuubi's chakra, just enough that her eyes changed from normal blue into red stilted eyes. This seemed to enhance her abilities by at least 5 times, from Naruto's estimations, and gave her the edge to really start taking the fight to Sasuke and begin pushing him back with her various strikes. It was after Naruko backhanded Sasuke up a chunk of the northern cliff face that they were fighting on. The Sasuke seemed to speed up, dodging Naruko's strikes before they could land and hitting her harder than she had expected, sending her flying back down the way that they had came. In the tree line, Kin and Tayuya looked confused at this action, but Naruto had felt his mouth going from a smirk to a full grin. He did it. Naruto chuckled. Did what? Kin frowned. Fully awoke the first stage of the Sharingan. All 3 Tamos are in both eyes, and now that they are, he is reading Naruko like an open book, predicting her movements before she even makes them and hitting her when she least expects it. But he still hasn't revealed the extent of the curse seal. Kimimaro noted. If he is doing this well without it, then it is a good sign. I can test it out myself after he is done here, Naruto replied as he noted that the battle was picking up as Naruko had switched over to ninjutsu and was shooting various futon techniques at Sasuke, who was weaving around them with only some slight difficulties before launching his own katen techniques back at her. Katen, Gokyaku no Jutsu. Sasuke smirked as he sent the giant fireball towards Naruko, who blinked at this before smirking and stopped channeling chakra to her feet and let herself fall under the water to avoid the attack before surfacing with dozens of cage bunshin that tried to attack Sasuke but were quickly dispatched whether by fist or kunai. As Naruko finally surfaced herself, she had a grin on her face the Sasuke was all too familiar with, and quickly glanced around in time to see that she had turned several of her cage bunshin into suicide bombers by having explosive tags on them as they rushed him. His eyes were wide as he seemed to realize that this was going to end badly, and his Sharingan could show where they were coming from, not how to avoid them. His mind was racing and Naruto tensed to move in and get him out of there if things really looked grim when he saw Sasuke pull the same move as Naruko did and drop beneath the water to avoid the worst of the blast, though it was obvious that he was going to be in some trouble if he lost consciousness down there. Shall I retrieve him if he doesn't surface? Yagura asked from the shadows, having just arrived a moments before the explosion. Be ready to, Naruto noted as he watched intently, but I don't think Sasuke is finished just yet. True to his prediction, the water underneath Naruko started to heat up and several small fireballs made their way out of the water, obvious that they had been much larger than that when they had started. Impressive, Naruto muttered. How so? Kin asked, confused. Water normally would destroy fire jutsu, but if you concentrate the fire chakra into condensed balls of superheated fire, you can launch them from underwater, at the cost of strength and speed. It's so difficult because it requires you to make many layers of fire, the normal inner layer and then the superheated outer layers to evaporate the water before it can hit the inner layer. It's a higher level katen training exercise, one that I didn't expect Sasuke to be able to pull off this early. I may have underestimated him, Naruto explained. Not entirely, Tayuya noted as she saw Sasuke surface, his skin marked with the first stage of the cursed seal. That fucker used the curse seal to enhance his abilities to the point where he could do that. The bastard is good, but he's burning through his goddamn chakra fast. Yes, but it is odd that Naruko isn't choosing more of her Baju's powers. Yagura mused against Enuchiya, especially one that is fighting like he is. Most Jinchuruki would be using more of the Baju's chakra, but Naruko is only using a very small trickle of power. You're sure? Naruto asked quickly, the wheels in his head turning. I'd bet my life on it, he replied. Sasuke has been showing incredible skill, but Naruko has barely began harnessing the powers of the Kyuubi. This just got interesting. Naruto chuckled as he refocused his attention on the battle. Naruko was glaring at Sasuke, who had the cursed seal activated as he faced her, a smirk on his face. She knew what he had just done was an advanced technique, though diversionary in nature. It meant that with the cursed seal that he was way more dangerous, and something was telling her that he was still holding back a bit. No more games, she thought to herself. Taking off at a run, she opened both her palms and created 2 Rasengans that she started expanding until they were large enough to just cover her hands as she tried to hit Sasuke, who was weaving around them while starting to flash through his own hand signs, and created his Chidori that he used to counteract one of her Rasengans, sending Naruko flying back as his strike was more powerful due to the curse seal augmenting his abilities. "Just stop, Naruko," Sasuke stated. "You're outclassed." "No," she growled as she got back up and started making another larger Rasengan and flickered from sight, trying to take his back. Sasuke only rolled to the side, avoiding the initial strike before flashing through the four hand signs again and making his Chidori, exploiting the opening in her strike and ramming his fist through her chest. Naruko's eyes widened in shock at this strike as Sasuke just held eye contact with her as he pulled the fist out of her chest. "I warned you," he simply stated as he started to walk away. Naruto blinked at the brutal efficiency that Sasuke had struck with and shook his head as he felt a slight tinge of rage that someone killed Naruko before he did, though it was quickly dismissed. "She isn't finished," Yagura stated, getting the attention of all of them. "What do you mean she isn't finished? That bitch just got stabbed through the chest and dropped into the water," Tayuya exclaimed. "She's a Jinchuruki. She will not die that simply, even if she is only at the barest of the basics in ability. In a situation like this, the Baju will amplify the healing rate to save the host. Add in the fact who she is fighting." Naruto added, "The Kyuubi despises the Uchiha clan for controlling it in the past and will want to kill Sasuke more than it wants Naruko dead. It is going to help her, there is no question of that. Though how much shall be interesting." True to their prediction, as Sasuke was getting close to the other side of the valley, he stopped and looked back to see Naruko right behind him, completely covered in red chakra, and her fist reared back to punch him. All Sasuke could do was blink as the fist smashed into his face and sent him flying into the rock cliffs, where he bounced off only to be caught by Naruko and thrown across the water, skipping like a stone. She did stop there though as she pursued, leaping above him and smashing him into the water where she seemed intent on drowning them. "It's like she wants to really kill me," Sasuke realized in shock. Taking deep breaths, he focused and grabbed Naruko's face and started pushing her away, trying to get one of his fingers into her eyes where he would blind her, but she resisted as much as possible until she finally had to let him go and threw him to the bottom of the river. Naruko surfaced first and stood on the water, glaring down towards Sasuke, who was surfacing a short ways downriver, coming up with a gasp as he really focused on Naruko as he stood atop the water. It happened in a flash. The two crossed the distance between them, punches and kicks flashing as the two tried to get the upper hand over the other, but the other was always ready with a counter or block to stop that advantage from ever occurring. The first blow delivered was from Sasuke, who managed to see the gap just in time to exploit it with a knee into Naruko's rising leg that threw her off balance and allowed him to punch her in the face with a right cross that sent her skating across the water as he followed after her, trying to press the advantage that quickly disappeared as she caught his kick and threw him towards the statue of Madara Uchiha, where he smashed into his knee and pulled himself out just in time to see Naruko had launched a fireball at him. Muttering to himself, he quickly leapt out of the crater he was in and dove towards the water, landing in a roll he flashed through his own hand signs. "Katen, Hosenka no Jutsu Phoenix Sage Flower Technique," Sasuke roared as he sent off a dozen fireballs that quickly put Naruko back on the defensive while Sasuke flashed through more hand signs, deciding to take one last gamble. "Katen, Fusion Isekai Kaso Impure World Cremation." From Sasuke's mouth came a blast for fire so great that the top of the river started to steam as it raced towards Naruko, who saw it just as it was about to hit her. She quickly took off at a run to get clear of the blast of fire, moving at an angle to try and keep some distance from the inferno and get clear of it before it smashed into the cliff face. Leaping at the last second, Naruko felt the detonation from behind her and was sent flying across the water, barely conscious and feeling slightly scorched. Sasuke for his part looked exhausted, his curse seal starting to fade as he had used almost all of the chakra that he had. Standing straight, Sasuke took only one step before he felt the malicious Ki being directed at him and glanced to see that Naruko was rising again, the charcoal cloak taking the form of a fox around her. "Shit," he cursed as he realized that he was in serious trouble. What just happened? Kinist I though she was done. "No, Kyuubi is in control now," Naruto muttered. "Sasuke pushed her too far and she is barely conscious. Kyuubi doesn't want to lose and neither does Naruko, so we see the single tail of her power. The problem is the Sasuke is on his last legs. I don't think he can overpower her." "Wait and see, Naruto-sama. He has not used the second stage," Kimimaro suggested. "I have faith that he can best her." "I don't," Tayuya muttered. With a roar, Naruko struck, charging Sasuke faster than anything that he had ever seen, and the chakra tail not even appearing in his Sharingan as he was sent flying by it. Skidding across the water, he tried to keep some distance between himself and Naruko as he tried to come up with a plan on how to fight her, or at least how to outlast her, as he was punched in the stomach and then sent flying into Hashirama's statue. This time Sasuke used the final card he had to play and drew on the cursed seal to the second stage. His skin darkened to a charcoal gray and a black cross design appeared between his now yellow Sharingan. From his back 2 wings ripped free from his shirt and he felt a rush of chakra, though he knew that this was only temporary and prepared to finish Naruko off with the one technique that might get past her chakra coat. Flashing through hand signs he created his Chidori again and took off towards Naruko, who had seen the now grey lightning of the Chidori and made her own Rasengan as she leapt up towards him in a primal fury. The two attacks met in a loud detonation that wrapped them in a bubble of chaotic energy that then sent them both flying out of it. Naruko seemingly unconscious and Sasuke unable to move. With a nod, Naruto moved out of the tree line and down into the valley, heading towards Sasuke, who was trying to sit up and now back in his normal form. The red-eyed blonde only smirked down at Sasuke as he nodded for Kimimaro to help him up and get him across the border. Turning, he set his gaze on Naruko where Yagura was standing over her. "Leave her be," Naruto stated. "If I may ask, why?" "2 reasons. First, if we kill her here, that will only drive the Hokage into hunting down the perpetrators himself, and I am not ready to clash with him yet. Second, we do not need the Kyuubi running around free, or sealed into a more competent container. Best to leave him where he is." "She may not stay incompetent," Yagura warned. "I hope not. It would be boring if this was her best when I finally kill her." Naruto chuckled as he walked towards the border. "Now let's go. We need to get out of here before they send another tracking team." Yagura only nodded as he followed after Naruto. By late evening the defeated retrieval team were brought back, with Choji and Neji in critical condition and being tended to by Tsunade and Shizune, as well as a team of medics with each of them. Shikamaru only had a few broken fingers and Kiba some bruises on himself and Akamaru. Naruko was still unconscious with various wounds and a severe case of chakra exhaustion. Minato was currently talking with both Kiba and Shikamaru about what occurred on the mission to try and figure out what went so wrong. "There was another group there," Kiba stated adamantly. "How can you be so sure?" Minato asked. "The guy in the turtle mask killed the Odo nin I was fighting against. Saved mine and Akamaru's hides by doing that. He wasn't with Odo, but he wasn't on our side either," Kiba stated bluntly. "And an unknown assailant attacked me just before I could kill my opponent. Troublesome." Shikamaru's side "We were played." "Seems that way," Jiraiya stated as he walked back into the room with Kakashi. "We found the trail of the third group. 3 of them at first, and then they grabbed 2 more and Sasuke." "Any familiar scents?" Minato asked. "1." Kakashi sighed. "Naruto was there." "What?" Minato exclaimed. "The scent was similar to Naruko's and Pakken knows that smell. He was one of the 3 people following the mission, and the one that intervened in Shikamaru's fight." Kakashi explained. "I don't know what he was doing here, but he was not alone. This is troubling." Minato sighed. "I know that Naruto is a freelance shinobi, so he might have been hired by Orochimaru to make sure the Sasuke got across the border." "Doesn't explain the guy that saved me," Kiba chimed in. "Commission maybe." Shikamaru muttered. "More money for them if they are the ones that bring Sasuke and the other Odo nin across the border." "Money isn't the driving factor." Shikamaru, "Kiba, please leave the room." Jiraiya sighed as the 2 blinked and complied with the older Sanin. "Naruto was hired by AIM to infiltrate the ranks of the daimyo of Nami no Kuni. This may be part of that." "This was what he was doing when you last saw him?" Kakashi asked. "Part of it. He's asked me to not tell some things and I will respect his wishes unless I think it's important. But this is, if he is working for that new daimyo, there is something bigger afoot. My spies managed to find out how this mysterious man got his position. Turns out that he did what you refused to do, Minato. He removed Gato from power, and the daimyo while he was at it." "You mean the mission that the bridge builder lied about?" Minato sighed. "I didn't like it, but he should have been honest with us. You know that we might as well have killed him ourselves and saved him the walk home." Jiraiya sighed. "He was killed?" Kakashi asked. "I never heard that part of the story." "Executed when he refused to stop building his bridge." Jiraiya nodded. "When this new guy showed up and offered them to do what we refused, they jumped at the chance. He somehow kidnapped Gato, killed his entire bandit army, the daimyo's own private forces and the daimyo himself before letting the grandson of the bridge builder execute Gato on the completed bridge." "That's pretty twisted." "This is the man they want ruling them?" Minato asked in disgust. "Those people are happy. This guy saved them and is now having them live a life of plenty compared to the life of nothing that they had less than 6 months ago. So the question is, why would this new daimyo send Naruto and 2 others to assist with Sasuke's kidnapping?" Kakashi sighed. "Doesn't make much sense." The 3 men nodded at this and were about to leave when a nurse came out and informed them that Naruko was awake. Naruko looked like she had been through hell, but she was lucid enough to give her report. It was Yami. When Sasuke woke up and ran off, while I fought that bone guy, Yami showed up with a slashed headband. He let me leave while he fought that other guy. I don't know why, but he did. Yami, that makes 3. Minato sighed. What else can you tell us? Sasuke wanted to leave. That statement got looks of shock from the 3 older nin. I caught up to him at the border, and he refused to come back. Said that Orochimaru would help him get stronger. Think he was timing it so that he could get 3 years of training before he swapped bodies. If Sasuke knew about this, he could get the timing right. Jiraiya amused, but that is a risky gamble. Anything else, Naruko? Kakashi asked. Not sure, but I heard voices before I passed out. Couldn't tell who they were, but one wanted to kill me. The other one told him not to. Said it wasn't worth the risk. Retaliation. Minato nodded, knowing that he would instate Jiraiya or Tsunade if Naruko had been killed so that he and Kushina could hunt down the killer. And because I'm too weak. What? Minato exclaimed. Think one was like me. Jinchuruki. The scout frowns from all 3 of them as Minato nodded to Naruko, letting her know that she needed to rest. Once they left the room, Minato looked at Jiraiya, who nodded. I'll see if any have gone rogue or unaccounted for, he promised. Good. Minato sighed. Why do I get the feeling that this is only the beginning? That's the end, guys. If you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a comment. This is Chaos Shinobi signing off.